And Mr. Chairman, while we're doing that, I'll just make the announcement anyway. The board did meet in executive session also on May 19 to go over matters of ongoing litigation and discuss matters of real estate as well.
Very good.
Aye.
Aye. Before we proceed with presentations, is there any public comment on the agenda items? On the agenda items only? No? All right. Presentation by open space. Chris?
And Bill.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Chris McNeil and Bill Fields is here. We're the chair and the vice chair of the Open Space Committee. And over the last probably 4 months, we've been discussing reactivating the agricultural security area in East Vincent Township. And it came to us because a farmer came to our meeting and would like to be included in the ag security area. But we don't have an active committee anymore. But we were very active over the years. The legislation is from the state government, and it's a very specific series of guidelines and regulations as to how an ag security district operates. The county also has a role in administration, and so does the municipalities. Currently, across all of Pennsylvania, there are probably 40,000 landowners that are included in an ag security area. So it's a popular program. And in East Vincent Township, we have 1,363.09 acres currently in the ag security area in our township. We would like to talk a little bit about how we could activate it, and Bill had the lead in our committee, and he also worked with the county on a variety of things. I did send a complete package of materials to Bob and to Haley last Tuesday. It includes Bill's summary. It also has the ag security map that Haley had. We have information from the county with individual property listings. We went through all of those property listings and updated them to current owners. We have 2 versions, a simple and an elongated, depending upon what you want to do, draft ordinance. And we also have the form that would be used by the landowners to apply to the township. But take it away, Bill.
So yeah, unless you want me to hit on all of the points, I mean, I can go through it, section by section, or if you feel you're already comfortable with it, I'll just talk about the things that weren't in there.
Okay. Well, Bill, all the documents were sent to each of Craig, Dan, and me. I can assure that I've read them. So I don't know if we need to have you go through everything in.
Okay. Yeah. So I'll just talk about the things that aren't in there.
Fine.
So yeah. So
we also want to inform the public of what it's about too. So that
please go ahead.
Okay. Yeah.
The benefits and all.
Yeah. So the background is it started in the 1990s. The county administers it. You have to reapply as a township every 7 years, or you kind of age out of it, right? There's a 7-year window, and at the end of 7 years, the county sends a document to
one. Yes. Is that
Zoom is flipped upside down. That's what we're looking at above your head. I'm sorry.
We're doing. Oh, look at it.
Oh, you're upside down.
okay? Go ahead.
So yeah. So at the end of 7 years, the county sends a form out to the township saying, do you want it re-up? And then the township fills out the form again and sends it back in. And if there's any adjustments at that time to property owners, it's made at that time. So as Chris had said, we were in it since the mid-90s. And then in 2018, the county had gotten behind and they stopped sending out to countywide to everyone the notices, and pretty much the entire townships all across Chester County fell out of the program. And so I was talking to Jake Michaels,
But it could be equine, it could be crops, it could be forestry, but it has to be farmland. And there's a county would be monitoring to make sure that people stay in the farmland category.
right? Yep. Yep.
Two observations. I'm sorry, Bill, we finished?
Well, we had one other thing about
Okay.
membership. So
Go
there's the committee is mandated by the state. So there are 3 farmers and they're very specific about the types, variety of people who are in the farm industry, a board of supervisor, and then also 1 resident at large.
Okay. So from the documents that I saw, those who are enrolled in the program, better. How are we doing now? I think we're good. Okay. So normal farming operations as a phrase is a central part of the ag security area.
Speaking to the mic, I'm even having
Yeah.
a hard time hearing you. Mark.
Yes, normal farming operations is as a clause is part of the agricultural security area program, and unfortunately, the Pennsylvania Commonwealth Court and other courts have ruled that NPRs that FPRs are considered to be normal farming operations. We have an ordinance dealing with FPRs, and the ordinance is not very friendly to FPRs. So doesn't that create a tension between ag security area on the one hand and our NPR and our FPR ordinance on the other?
So yes, so the FPR ordinance supersedes, anything that we have for ASA. The ASA doesn't guarantee you the right to do FPRs or guarantee you the right to even do farming. It's protection for the homeowner, or also for the landowner, for the farmer. But it's only from, well, I'm not going to sit there and argue the legal side because this could end up in.
It's
Right,
an
right.
open question. I'm not going to speak for Joe. I've looked at it and I'm not sure that you're correct, Bill.
Well, we'll pass on that one point and we'll let our solicitor rule on that.
Yeah,
Maybe we'll do
right,
that,
right.
Joe. But what I would like to say is, given that we already have 1,300 acres in the program and it is widely popular, I'm hoping that the board will see fit to enact a farm-friendly activity, because we are in a motto where we're saying we want to keep things rural, and this is a way to help farmers.
Mhm.
And it's certainly, since it's been enacted since 1981 on a statewide level with 40,000 landowners involved, it's a very popular program, and the township has benefited because of it. One of the examples I would give you is in the first Open Space Bond Act, the majority of farmers that came forward were already in, or we got them into the Ag Security District, which then qualified them for the county Ag Preservation Program. And East Vincent Township benefited to the amount of $4 million because of that.
But yeah, to your point, Mark, I think it's worth the phone call back to the county, and I could talk to Jake Michaels and get him to put something in writing relative to their interpretation, because it's had to have come up before.
But probably, let's let Joe take care of that.
Okay, perfect.
Just a couple of questions, if I may. I am unclear as to what happened here in the township with respect to the history, and maybe you and I can talk offline about it.
Well, I think it's about, when 212, I left office, nothing happened, and we didn't save an acre of land. So what do you want to know? They didn't do anything.
Well, did they?
They didn't save an acre of land.
Did re-up every 7 up until we stopped getting notices from the county.
Right.
Okay.
So that would be 217. And then with the COVID hitting, that was another complication that Jake mentioned.
So there wasn't an actual filing with the county.
There was historically filings with the county.
Hold on, let me finish. There wasn't a filing with the county by the township to eliminate the ag security area. It
Okay.
just became defunct in terms of its ongoing maintenance. So put another way, the ag security area still exists today in the township because it was never formally repealed by the township.
Correct.
So what you're asking to do is just, and it would continue, even though you didn't do those 7-year updates under the act, it continues.
Correct.
Unless the township proactively goes to the county and says, no, we're out.
There's a simple form that any landowner, it comes from the
Correct.
state, that they apply, and there are no fees involved for the
Right.
farmer. And we have the committee, and then the committee meets, and then they make a recommendation. And then as part of the regular meetings, you would have a public hearing as part of your meeting to allow them in.
And
And
I'm sorry.
And on an outreach basis, what the Open Space Committee would like to do is take the initial lead to send out letters to the property owners that are farming, but currently are not in the ASA, to seek what interest they might have to get involved. And then if we had a group of them, we could do it in one swoop, is what we did back in the early 2000s as
Right.
well.
And I guess the other question I have is with respect to the properties that have changed hands. Have we reached back out to those property owners, or is that the process that you've started to undertake now to make sure they want to continue to be within the area, because they can withdraw voluntarily as well as enter voluntarily?
Correct.
I understand.
Correct. So what I did is we had a detailed list from the county with parcel numbers and property owners, and just given my familiarity with everybody and people passing and, like, the Millers, now the son has it, and wives. So I updated all of that information. And then we would be able to contact the current owners, like, Les Schwartz isn't in the state anymore, and we have a new person. Next door, we have the Brahms because, those folks passed away. So, we have all that information now in a file
Good.
that I handed to Haley and to Bob. So we have all the updated information. And once we would touch base with them.
And in any event, I believe, and please correct me if you disagree, I believe that lands that the township has conserved, that it owns, can also be included within that ag security area for purposes of calculating the minimums, I'll call it, that you need in terms of land area at 250 acres or 500 acres, whatever that may be.
Well, we're already past that.
Yeah,
We're way past that. We got 1,300 acres under our belt.
That's in
in our
ag
township.
securities area
Yes.
that everybody still wants to be.
We don't have that question answered yet.
They
Jim.
didn't go out, Joe, just,
Township couldn't be, submitted into the ASA. I haven't seen
Right.
anything of it.
If you're
No.
farming.
Well,
Well, it doesn't have. to be
I don't
farming
think you
necessarily.
have
Oh,
to
you can do
farm.
forestry.
Yeah,
I think you can just say that it's at least $2,000 a year that you could, in fact, garnish from the property if you were to farm it or do forestry or whatever it may be.
the committee did not approach residents ahead of
Okay.
getting this in front of the board,
Great.
just so you know.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That was the order. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
So this is an informational meeting, but we would hope that you will look positively on this. And we would think it would be a great opportunity to bring landowners back together who are farming, as we did about a year and a half ago.
Right.
And this would be a great opportunity to talk to them. And as you know, in any fundraising or convincing people, you need several times and several conversations so people feel comfortable. And so we would hope that you would look positively on this initiative by the Open Space Committee.
Okay.
but,
Before we go,
but to your point, Mark, I mean, we should have Joe go back and talk.
absolutely, we
Yeah,
will. We will.
Sure.
Craig, any questions or comments?
This is for the public's purposes here. These development rights that would be sold to the county and state, what would happen after that? What would they do with them? I'm thinking of
No,
them almost like in
Okay, so
perspective of like TDRs. What would happen?
no. So let's back way off on this.
Okay.
Okay, so an ag security district, if you're in it and you want to get an agricultural easement, which the landowner holds the easements,
Mhm.
they could qualify for either state or county matching funds with the township's Open Space Bond Act money. But the landowner holds the easement because they own the land.
It does say here about selling development rights. So this is how you're couching it this way, is that it would be matching funds.
It's matching, is when you're in the ag security area, you're then eligible to apply to the county ag preservation program or the state ag preservation program for funding, matching funding. And then you could use that also with the township open space fund. But we're not talking about TDRs. We're talking about
Aggies.
ag easements.
Okay, but it does say development rights in here that being sold.
Well, when you have an ag easement, you are looking at your development rights. Because there are certain development rights you might be setting aside.
Okay, so they would just be able to purchase, the county or state would be able to purchase, and then they wouldn't be doing anything else with that.
The county's not purchasing anything. It's a grant.
Just a grant. Okay.
It's just a grant.
I'm
Yeah,
looking
I'm
at-
just trying to help you understand. It's a
Trying to
grant.
understand too, yeah.
So like, for example, we would go through like the appraisal process. If we had a willing owner and we'd go through the appraisal process and then we would work on a matching grant basis. If they were in the ag security district, we could then apply with the landowner with our open space money as the local match. We could go and get a 50% match with the county, but if we went and got county and state money, the township would have a 25% match, or the landowner could just go through the county and the state and not even use any of our open space money. That's another way they can do it. But it just gives them the eligibility to apply for the grant
residential units are for rent versus owner occupied. This would also give you, and fortunately, the township doesn't have many of these issues with respect to owners who have multiple properties that don't keep them up very well. But this would also allow a tracking mechanism for that. The downside from an inspection perspective is that you're not that somebody said you can't come in. The upside is that particularly when people are more vulnerable, elderly folks, for example, who are renters, if the apartments are not kept in a very habitable state, this allows for the township to be able to identify that. Access can be granted by not only the owner, but also by the occupant of a property. So, and right, what we've had happen too, as Haley just mentioned, is that sometimes rental units expand in number of units without permits. And this would be a way of us to be able to track any kind of construction activity that were happening within rental units. Sometimes you see duplexes become triplexes or quads or more. So we've had that issue within the township as well. And this would give us an opportunity to identify that faster.
Okay, that's interesting. Yeah, that's
And
gives
then
a little bit more insight.
Yeah, and as far as how these programs work, typically, and again, in some of their surrounding communities, they will have a program where it's on a rolling cycle that these inspections take place, but they're usually annually or every other year.
Who would do the inspections?
It would be codes within the township. And there's a fee that's associated with the inspection for the rental purpose.
And do we have the ability to support that in terms of
I think
staffing?
We would use a third party.
QCI would.
I say-
We would use a third. We would use a third.
We do. It's our third party building inspector, which is LTL, and they do have that capacity.
And they do this,
They do it frequently.
okay?
Yeah.
That's all I have for now.
Greg?
What I wanted to ask, you mentioned about habitability. And I started thinking about professional standards. Who would make those types of determinations? As you mentioned, like elderly and things like that, would that be the township making those types of determinations, or would that be an outside party more than likely?
LTL would be able to
LTL.
determine the habitability. And when I say habitability, there are very basic
Yeah.
requirements,
Right.
electricity, running water,
Right.
working plumbing, those types of things. Just because somewhere is messy doesn't mean it's not habitable.
Yeah.
But those are the things we want to make sure. Vermin, we want to make, you may want to have a better handle on some of those things.
And then will this cover suspected rentals? Because that would,
There would be a rental registration requirement if somebody does not register their rental, try to say that 3 times fast, then they would be in violation of the ordinance, and there would be a penalty provision and a magisterial district court potential action.
Okay.
Any further questions or comments?
No.
I was just gonna ask what happens if it's not, if there is an issue, it's inhabitable? What, then it's on the township to take legal action against the landowner? What proceeds from there
If it's
legally?
uninhabitable, there are a couple things that can happen. One, they wouldn't pass the inspection, and that would be an uninhabitability determination, almost like a condemnation, but not in the sense of a taking, but rather in the sense of it not being able to, the property not being able to be occupied. 2, there are wraparound services that are provided by the county as well that we would make folks aware of. That happens in many communities, so that they know that renters know their rights, particularly when it comes to habitability. I mean, there are even, crazy as it sounds, there are even regulations with respect to multiple apartments in the same building and providing cable television for habitability. So it's all of those things in terms of renters' rights. The resources would be made available to folks, so that there are 2 things. 1, you have township enforcement, and 2, the wraparound service opportunity.
So the township is taking on that cost then?
Potentially, yes, if it goes down the enforcement road,
Mhm.
yes.
And just administering the program itself?
Most
So
of
we're
which,
looking at taking that on.
yes, and the idea would be that the rental registration fees would hopefully cover the cost of the program for the most part. That's what you hope for.
I'm laughing, but I guess we'll want to see some numbers as well and how that sort of, how the program would operate. And it sounds like there's a lot of downstream impacts is all, when I'm
Understood.
thinking about it.
Yeah.
That I'd like to understand better.
Sure. Makes sense. And that's why
Thank
we
you.
wanted to have the conversation.
Okay.
Any comments from the audience? Bill?
I have a comment on a previous topic where we didn't get a chance about solar. Okay.
Oh.
Okay, because we didn't get an opportunity during solar.
Go ahead, Bill.
Okay. I just had a couple questions as somebody that has a solar system similar to what
Yeah.
we have here.
You know what, Bill, do me a favor, please. Hold this until
Okay.
public comment at the end, if you don't mind.
That's fine. That's fine. No problem.
Okay. My apologies. On this particular topic, yes.
Monica Scriver, Valley Creek Lane. Dana, I liked your question about who's going to monitor this. That seems like when you're talking about this and discussing the possibility of it, how do we do with our septic? The people every 3 years? Is that pretty much an established process that you're on top of all that? Because it seems like it's a lot. And it seems like our offices have a lot on their plate now as it is. And that's the only thing I would contribute is that, as you pointed out, it's going to need to be a pretty streamlined, efficient process that one individual can handle with everything else that's going on. That's it. Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, just to add to that, I think that's a good point that Monica brings up. I don't believe this community is heavily laden with rental properties. It's not where we have college rentals or anything like that. We have a high population there. But again, it does, again, as we see what's registered, how many are in the township, that'll determine, and that'll be something that'll be reviewed annually to see whether or not what the costs are for the township and what are we collecting from the landlords.
Okay,
Makes sense.
all right, so there's no need for a motion here. I think
Yeah,
Well-
this discussion, right?
well, it's just a discussion, I think, but Joe needs a direction of whether he should proceed with drafting an ordinance. I think we ought to proceed.
I'm in agreement. I would like other documentation though, or information about similar programs in addition to just the legal side of it.
Yeah, why don't we'll bring back some
Yeah.
additional information.
Thank you.
There's no magic to how this needs to proceed in terms of an immediate need. I think it's a program that we are aware of in the surrounding community and brought to the forefront and at Mr. Zinkowski's suggestion to see if the board wanted to proceed further. So it sounds like you want more information, and then we'll bring that back and go from there.
Okay,
Sounds
Just
good.
if I can just add to it, this is not like the board authorizing or supporting this.
Not at
What
all.
we want to do is just bring this to the light, more transparency, but from the
Yeah.
board, is this something you want to pursue? And if so, then there's a lot of work that has to be done. And then when it comes back here, then you would probably then assign it to the planning commission or whatever board or commission that you deem necessary. But it's kind of bringing the process up front first before a lot of work gets done and then the board decides we don't want to do this.
Mhm.
Yeah, right. The answer can be, we don't want to do this.
Yeah, exactly.
no, I think let's proceed in that direction. Second, short-term rental.
So, Mr. Chairman, on the short-term rental, this is something that came to the forefront some years ago. The township does not have a short-term rental ordinance. But ever since the Slice of Life case and Airbnbs, there has been a determination by the courts that short-term rentals are not the same thing as what would occur by way of a residential district. Short-term rentals could be somewhere else. They don't have to be in a residential district, and they don't have to be permitted in every residential district. It's a different use than a single family or multifamily use. So the question here is again, whether we should pursue this further. Right now, there is not anything on the books in terms of short-term rentals in the township. Do you want to restrict short-term rentals in the township or specifically provide for them in particular districts?
Do we have any way of knowing at this point whether we have a need for this?
I mean, not at this time. But it's something that's just along the same lines of forward thinking. I mean, we're knowing that Airbnbs and short-term rentals are more frequent. So it's just something we would rather, get some direction to see if we should be on top of it rather than coming at the back end.
Craig?
Joe, can you give us some examples where maybe you're familiar with another township may have put something in place and what were the benefits for doing this? Just give some examples of
Sure.
what.
Some places where we happen to be present have enacted short-term rental ordinances because they were having large-scale parties or events fairly regularly that became very disruptive to the community
Okay.
in very quiet residential areas. And some of these parties grew to the point of being several hundred people that would go to a particular residence, a large residence. You'd have a dozen or 24 people staying there overnight or for the weekend or whatever it may be. But that can be very disruptive, more so than just your typical graduation party or something of that nature.
Right.
So the benefit was to be able to control that type of activity or limit it to a particular area.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I'm just going to add on to what Joe said. One of the communities that I was in, as Joe said, they were advertising places to have parties. And there were also, people were renting their yards for dogs to come, where if you're in an area where you don't have the ability to run a dog, they'd be renting their properties and neighbors are impacted. And this is a move where they were starting to move out of suburban tight neighborhoods to more rural areas. And I think this is one we want to be on the front side of this, because I don't think we want to have a party of 800 people at a house with loud music, people carrying guns as security, and which is true. That did happen. So I think we want to be on the front side of this.
I'd like to learn more about this and
Sure.
you guys work on this some more. Yeah, absolutely.
Dana?
Yeah, it sounds like a land use issue.
It's a zoning issue. It became,
Yeah.
ever since the slice of life case, it became a zoning issue or regulate it. You could regulate by zoning.
Mhm.
So what do you think?
Yeah, I'd like to learn more about it. I do
Okay.
think it's
Okay,
good to
well-
maybe get in front of some of these things for sure.
We'll bring some more information forward again and we can give you an example of an ordinance that that I think believe has withstood challenge already.
Very
So
Okay, next is, I'm sorry, folks. Elaine. Oh, we already heard from Bill.
Yeah, Bill Fields, Stony Run Road. And yeah, I'd like to say I totally agree with what Joe and Bob pointed out, that it does in certain instances impact property values on surrounding properties. And there are instances where parties take place because people are renters. They don't feel as obligated to fit in with the community, I'll say, and adhere to public standards. And I'm sure if you talk to the police chief, he would give you examples of that out in our township.
He's hanging outside.
Yeah. But
Thanks, Bill.
He just started walking down the
Great
hallway.
input. Thank you.
Elaine? Okay. Yes.
Is it me or somebody up there? Is somebody online or are you talking to
I
me?
don't think so.
you,
Monica Scriver, Valley Creek Lane. This is a good time to bring up a survey because we're bringing up a lot of good points of how to regulate our township. And we're also asking a lot of questions about the demographics that we just don't know. And you now have somebody on the board that knows how to put a survey together online and ask people, hey, is this something you might consider doing with your property? I don't know, maybe people won't admit that they're doing with their property. I think if a police officer is called out to a neighborhood constantly because it's happening, his data would be important to know. And so I think somewhere in all of these really good ideas, you're not getting enough input from the residents to really have enough data to know what decision to make about these. I mean, they're going to change the township with the different ordinances you want to put into place. And so residents, how are you going to tell them this? You know, how are you going to communicate this to them? And so,
BUS meetings.
Well, BOS meetings would also be submitted to the planning commission,
Yeah,
as any other ordinance.
Right.
yes, and the people that come are the people like Rachel says, the same people that come every month are the same people that come. She loves me, Monica. God bless her. So I think the survey, Bob, that was your idea. And so I don't know where that is. Is there an economical way to do it? We have somebody we're paying to do our website now. Is this something we could look at? Just a suggestion, because it's nice to know. I mean, data is good when you're making these types of decisions. So
I don't want to jump ahead of Parks and Rec, but there could be a survey coming out, and we haven't gotten in front of the board yet. But I think there is an opportunity to do that and get more data. And I would not just do a survey for one single issue. I think we would try to incorporate other questions that we'd like to get resident input on, but we're very early on in the discussion at the last Parks and Rec board. So I won't go into further detail, but I do think there's a need for more surveys. And when I went through supervisor training, the PSATS group that puts that together, they had a panel, and I think it was East Whiteland, one of the supervisors was on the panel. He was great. And they do use surveys quite a bit, and they don't overcomplicate it. And they use those to make decisions and get input from residents. So I do feel we have an opportunity to do that, and hopefully I think we just have to discuss it more and doing it in an economical way with the right questions. As someone on Parks and Rec said, we're not going to base it on 3 people called the township and said, I don't like X, Y, and Z. We need a larger population, sample size. But anyway, thank you, Monica.
Hi, Joanna Tenney, New Street. Would this include events or businesses, or is it just residential areas that we would be talking about?
Across the board, wouldn't you?
Well, the short-term rentals are specifically related to the residential rentals. So in a business sense, if you were talking about like the party city thing that pops up during Halloween, I can't remember the name of the company, but the Spirit, that's it.
Spirit Halloween.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're like a short-term rent. They're only like a couple of months, really. Something like that would not be regulated under the short-term rental ordinance. It would be more specifically geared towards residential properties.
Okay, I'm just curious.
Haley, as far as events though, there is a permit process for special events. I'm not sure that everybody knows that. Maybe that should be in the newsletter.
I did not.
Yeah,
so.
there you go. I do, because we did one for EVA and we got a permit.
And also there's a section on our website. I can send you the link to that you can read about the special event permit if you want to
Oh yeah, that'd be
read
great.
up on it.
All right,
So.
thanks.
Thank you. Anybody else? Anybody online? No? Okay. Next one. UNO inspection.
So this one's also in my court, I believe. So this is something that I brought to township staff a while ago. In many municipalities now, there's a UNO inspection that occurs when there's a change in occupancy or ownership. That gives the township a vehicle by which they can inspect the condition of a property, not the interior of a home, for example, but rather, is there a structure that popped up, a shed, for example, that popped up without a permit? We'd be able to take a look at that. Also, oftentimes when you have a change in ownership, folks forget that the sidewalks, for example, are really their responsibility in many places, not all, but many places. It would give an opportunity for a sidewalk inspection, something of that nature. So again, not necessarily related to just the inside of the home, but really about the condition of the property in general.
So UNO is an acronym for?
Use and occupancy inspection. And exactly, also electrical. That's
Right.
Haley is making a great point. One of the biggest deficiencies that we often see is with respect to GFI outlets, and not being appropriately placed around bathrooms or water areas.
Yeah,
I don't have anything.
Greg?
Who would we hire to do this?
This would again be like an LTL
Yeah,
situation,
right.
and there would be a fee associated with the inspection.
And this would be anytime there's going to be a transfer of ownership?
Yes, that would be the intent.
Okay.
And potentially when there's a change in occupancy. So if you have a rental again and changing occupants, that
So
would
we're
be
not-
another time.
We're not
No.
doing this now, you're saying?
No.
No.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I would just like to, oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. No, please.
I do, just have another question
Sure.
on this. Would, sometimes when there are, there are some initiatives that are done by some municipalities and townships and school boards that when there's a change in hands, from one owner to the next, and let's say they were to see the property value, property value versus the sales value, they can initiate an appraisal. And so would this help to also initiate that if let's say that they go in there and not only has the sale price, let's say it's 200, 300% over what the appraised value is, but now they find out someone did a home office in the basement, or they did other things. Would that help to initiate something like that from a township perspective? Because the school boards do keep an eye on change in ownership all the time.
Yes. So, Mr.
For
Damon,
assessment purposes?
that, yeah, you're, I
Right,
think,
to appeal.
yeah.
Yes.
Yes, Mr. Damon and Mr. Chairman, I think that's what you're getting at is there's an assessment appeal process. They call it the reverse appeal process,
Right.
whereby the taxing authorities could bring those forward. That would not be part of this. The part that you indicated about, say, for example, the finished basement, that's another one that we often see.
Oh, yeah.
That's one that would potentially come up, not in terms of the value of the property, but were there proper inspections, and how do we catalog that appropriately? But it would not have to do with the assessments.
Mr. Ramsey?
Matt Ramsey, Penhurst Road. One caution that I would probably put out there on something like this, the notion of grandfathering. The example that you gave about a sidewalk and maintenance, well, you don't have any idea really at this point, prior to having such a program in place, about what the starting conditions are. So if you've bought a property that had municipally installed sidewalks and they deteriorated over time before you even got there, to kind of stick that guy with the onus of repairing that before they could sell or that a new occupancy could take place, might be construed as unfair. So I just urge you to consider the startup aspects of such a program.
Thank you. And I use sidewalks as the example all the time because that tends to be one where people get a little bit sensitive about it. Because you really don't know where the starting point is. Nevertheless, by statute, by the township codes, and I don't mean the local codes, I mean the state codes, almost always the homeowner is responsible for the sidewalk. So if it does become a deteriorated condition, that really, whether that's the current homeowner or the previous homeowner, somebody is responsible normally other than the municipality. There are exceptions to that rule.
The municipality responsible for making sure that there's adherence. Because the situation that I alluded to only occurs if no enforcement took place prior to, the property changing hands potentially multiple times. That's the only point.
Sure.
Any other comments? I think got your marching orders.
Thank you.
All right.
And Mr. Chairman, I think the next one is in Mr. Zinkowski's court.
Construction start time ordinance amendment.
Yes, we have been having a problem for a while with start times. Even though the start time scheduled now, there is setup time in which crews are assembling prior to from 30 to 45 minutes to an hour, even in advance of the early hour that we currently have. This would actually amend this to begin the start time either to 6:30 or 7 in the morning. And again, this is becoming more and more of a problem. I know Cindy has brought this to my attention with start times there with PA American Water. And there's been other construction sites where this work has been starting way ahead of schedule. So this is something I believe is long overdue to actually move this to where it's a reasonable time for residents to not be woken up or have their lifestyle
Disturbed.
encroached upon.
Yeah, no, I agree, Bob.
What is it now? What's the ordinance now?
5:30 in the morning.
Okay.
So what's
way too
happening
early.
is we're getting set up time and crews starting to assemble anywhere between 4:30 and 5:30.
No, I agree. Dana, any,
I agree.
Craig?
I agree. Can you see any situations where that could also be intermixed with farming activity, like construction activity, because sometimes, farmers can sort of get up very early. This is going to be very specific. This is the way you're going to focus in on
This is
construction.
this is construction.
Just construction.
Okay.
And this would not be applicable necessarily to the state agencies. We'll try.
Well,
Which,
we'll debate that one because
PennDOT?
if PennDOT
Yeah,
decides to start doing
okay.
work like that, or PA American Water or PICO. Again, I understand where you're at, Joe, but we would try to enforce.
Well, the American is one thing, but what Joe is saying is it's a local entity has a very difficult time imposing any kind of authority on a state agency. But we'll try.
Pretty good.
We do have
Audience. Boy. No, hang on. Let me hear from Steve first.
Hi, Steve Hacker, Brown Drive. So we're talking about start time. Is there a stop time too?
And it's 7 p.m., I believe, 8 p.m., which again, we want to crunch that one up too as well.
Okay. Because,
Punch it back.
I'm sorry. Yes, move it back. Yeah.
it's not a huge issue right now, but could very well become. So, but we need to keep an eye on that too.
And if daylight savings time still stays in place again, you don't want again 6:30, 7:30 when it's been dark since 4:30 already for safety purposes on the roads.
Yeah. I mean, and we have had PennDOT at 1, 2 a.m. in the past. I think you guys got that under control. Thank you for that.
Okay. Joe, anything?
I would just say that this program would dovetail with every time there's a land development agreement or a permit, there would be the same time period would be set forth in both. This is just a way to help dovetail with legislation.
Mr. Ramsey?
Oh. Well, made the mention of Penhurst Road, made the mention of enforcement, as would relate to the start time thing. There's kind of a confounding thing that's going on in that we've had a speed bump put into our street right in front of our house, as a matter of fact, because I guess we were the loudest. And of course, now every construction vehicle that comes up at 5:30 hits that speed bump. So, and the reason the speed bump is there is because we don't have the resources to enforce proper driving behavior. And so we put a physical barrier there to try and slow them down because we don't have police resources to just sit at a road and say, no, slow down. So resources are going to be a problem.
We
Anybody
can
else?
also talk about relocating that if you like.
Any other comments? All right, so Bob.
Well, there is something I wanted to say about mentioning state agencies. I mean, we could reach out to our state rep and senator and ask them for some help here too.
I don't know that PennDOT's showing up at 4:30 in the morning, but if they are, keep running.
And typically they're, And unless it's approved, usually by the municipality for overnight work or that would be the only way, but Katie's right on that. And again, we've had pretty good success in enforcing upon the utilities in that too as well.
Okay. All right.
But I also want to point out Cindy Ramsey, Penhurst Road. It's not just the water company. And I love the fact we're getting a park, but I can tell you dump truck after dump truck after dump truck. It's just been unreal in our house on a daily basis. And, I showed you a picture of the rock that was at the speed bump that they dropped from their load. Not being careful coming through there, brakes being applied because, going a little fast to hit that speed bump. They're just not paying attention. I don't know who all's taking, responsible at the park. But it's been a lot lately. It's just been overwhelming at 5:30 in the morning, truck after truck. So thank you for considering changing this.
Okay.
Thank you, Cindy.
All right. Finally,
We did.
reestablishment.
You did that one.
No, we didn't.
You
We had the
listen to a
presentation.
presentation. Yeah.
Oh,
So this is just.
We kinda did discussion at the same time.
Establish the ASA Advisory Committee.
So, Mr. Chairman, I don't think we need to belabor it any further. I think that there was a fairly comprehensive presentation that was made.
Don't take under advisement.
And then I think you take it under advisement, we'll
Okay.
provide some additional information and work
Will
with Mr. Fields and
Okay.
Ms. McNeil.
All right, good. I want to go in reverse. Better to take old business before new business.
business.
Haley, your ABCs are all out of whack here.
So, Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
if you are going to take old business before new business, that is an amendment to the agenda. So technically there should be a motion made to take the old business first and move it above the new business. In the future, we would be happy to reorder it.
Okay.
But maybe in this,
We will do that. Okay, so we'll go to new business first. Thank you, Joe.
thank you.
All right. Bear with me, please. Yeah. Yeah, but it's full. It's a.
I'm
right.
following.
This order. Here we go.
It's a long agenda.
Move that the Board of Supervisors adopt and execute the conditional use order and decision for Penhurst Holdings BE LLC. Do I have a second?
I second the motion.
Discussion. Dana,
No discussion.
Greg,
No discussion.
anything from the audience? Yes.
Hi, Joanna Tenney, New Street. Are you going to read the letter that is being sent to the applicant, or was it already sent? Like, the denial letter, like unsure of the process, so I'm just wondering.
The applicant and all of the protestants were sent what's called the next day letter that denied the applicant, that memorialized the board's verbal or oral decision on the night of the hearing. That was already sent to them the day after the hearing. What the board is voting on now is the formal decision and order, which pretty much goes through all of the findings of fact, conclusions of law, and has a very similar order to it that was read to what was read or into the motion at the hearing. So we won't read that letter into the record or anything. There's no record anymore. It's closed. But this would be the final action of the board on this particular application in terms of the decision and order.
Okay, is that like available online? Because I'm just curious of what
We
that
could,
looks like.
Haley just indicated that she would
Okay, cool.
post it.
All right, thank you.
Sure.
You're welcome. Any other comments? Haley, anybody online? I call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, next. I move that the Board of Supervisors approve escrow release number 5 for Spring Haven Walk, that's 506 Park Road, in the amount of $63,522 and 26 cents.
Second the motion.
All right, discussion.
Bob, could we get a little background on this one, just for the public's purposes here?
Sure, this is a release requested by them of some of the escrow that's due back to them. These were reviewed by both Pannoni and QCI. And both approved the release of the escrow at this time.
Are there any outstanding construction issues?
Under these two escrow releases, no. And the project is not complete yet, so
All right, but do we have any current unresolved construction issues?
not that I'm aware of, no.
Anna?
I had raised a concern to Joe, so I think we'll take that up after the meeting or.
Yeah, I'll say I don't have a problem with offering that opinion now, and then we can take it up after the meeting as well.
Okay.
Supervisor Safona, and I think that your question really related to the fact that in Pannoni's letter, there is kind of language that indicates that they are not the ones doing the inspections and therefore can't totally verify the quality of the work.
Correct.
Or the quantity of the work. That's fairly common, particularly since Pannoni is actually not the one who is doing the inspection. It's being done by QCI. QCI's qualifying language is much less. What they say is that they are saying the work is substantially in compliance with the plan. And of course, the contractor is also certifying that, or the developer.
Excuse me, Joe, can everybody in the room hear? Okay,
Okay,
maybe we can just keep, additional convo.
sure,
Sorry, I kind of lost my track then.
sure.
You were saying about
So
QCI language was.
Yes, it's much more limited than Pannoni's because they're the ones actually doing the inspection.
Okay,
So QCI's limitation is with respect to stating that the work is substantially in conformity with the plan to the extent that they could observe it. But if there was a survey required, so with particular quantities, for example, that they're not indicating that the quantities were absolute. So if Pannoni were doing the inspection, they would have a similar language that as to what QCI has. Pannoni is really certifying that the release is appropriate as required by the MPC as the township's engineer based on what QCI observed.
All right.
So it's standard, in short.
Any comments from the audience? Anybody online? Okay. Call the question. All in favor?
aye.
Aye.
Next. I move that the Board of Supervisors appoint Michael Broussard, a member of the Environmental Advisory Committee, to serve on the Open Space Committee with a term that expires December 31st, 2028, in accordance with the requirements of the Township Ordinance.
Second the motion.
Discussion.
Good selection.
Okay. Any comments from the audience? None. All right. I call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Bear with me, please. I move that the Board of Supervisors approve the water monitoring contract with Stroud Water Research Center to perform a water quality assessment at 2 sites within the township's portion of the Stony Run watershed.
Second the motion.
Okay.
Oops.
Dan, any comments or questions?
I had a question about the proposal. There are 2 sites that they're going to be conducting this monitoring, but Stroud was saying they weren't the best sites. So I was just wondering, was there an obstacle or reason why they couldn't? Is it an access thing? I don't know if anyone from the EAC can.
Maybe I can speak to it.
Thank you, Bob.
There were some additional locations that want to thank Elaine Melito for able to secure those from private property owners. That list has gone over to Pannoni to pass along to Stroud as well for those additional locations.
Okay, that's great. I love the idea that they're going to also, as part of this, partake in some level of landowner engagement to encourage best management practices around our watersheds. So I'm really happy to hear that as well. And they also talked about a mail campaign. So I'd like to at some point see a sample of
Mhm.
others that they've done in other communities, Bob.
Yes.
But yes, this is a long time coming
Here.
and it's been impaired. The Stony Run has been impaired since I want to say 2003. Am I right? And
Yeah, roughly.
yeah, and we did a
1.9
survey.
miles.
Yeah, we did a survey. This was one of the surveys that we did, homegrown resident survey. So I think this is a fantastic initiative.
Great.
The cost for this is going to be about $33,000.
Actually, 37,000 is
37,
where this is going to end up at. I want to thank State Senator Muth for supporting this with appropriations funds in the amount of $20,000.
Okay.
So thank you, Senator, for
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you
supporting
very much.
environment here. So, but thank you for initiating it though. Thank you.
I'd like to just mention here a little bit about the fact that there's going to be some permanent monitoring sort of going on.
That's correct. That's correct.
And EAC will, some of the members are being designated to help with evaluate or maintaining maybe some of these permanent stations.
I'm maintaining them.
Yeah, I
helping-
think we'll work with the EAC on that to define what that
Right.
is. But I think this is something that the township's probably going to be investing in for years and years and years to come. So this is not lost just on this initial issue. But again, before you any further, I just want to thank the EAC for taking this up and really making a strong case for this and not letting it go. So kudos
Well done.
to all of them for their time.
Any comments or questions from the audience?
Well, I have some more questions here.
Right, Craig?
Yeah. Joe. As far as responsibility towards the township, if, let's say we do find something substantial, what would be the responsibilities that could befall the township in regards to this? And that not only from the fact that this is residents, of course, would want something to happen, but what would we be engaged in with possibly state or county or even federal agencies if there are that something's found?
With these being waters of the Commonwealth, then there could be enforcement action by PADEP if there were pollutants found at a certain level. It would not necessarily be the township's obligation to move forward with that kind of enforcement. However, notification would be appropriate with PADEP. The question is whether or not monitoring becomes a long-term obligation of the township, and also what the impact is on particular property owners if they're identified as the source of contaminant. A lot of times what you'll see is oftentimes in more rural communities, there can be some impairments that are related to biosolids and things that are being inadvertently distributed into the streams.
Yeah.
So those are things we just have to keep an eye on, and it may end up being, we get into a situation where a particular property owner is found to be in non-compliance and has to be brought into compliance from a PADEP perspective.
Joe, also, when it comes to environmental enforcement, you and I I'll just mention, we've talked about this a little bit, about what we can do as a township and from environmental matters perspective. And in a lot of ways, we have some overlap that we can look into and possibly improve upon. But in a lot of ways, we don't have a lot of it is being controlled by the EPA or DEP, and we talked about Act 2 and so forth. So what responsibilities or what can we do to help to if there is something found that we could possibly put into our ordinances that could be from an environmental perspective, realizing that we do have some ability, some overlap, even if it's a tiny amount, that we could possibly look into. I will say I did talk to you about the maybe a voluntary program about poplar trees, because they are used by the DEP and EPA for brown sites and Superfund sites, and it's a phyto remediation.
Yes.
In those situations. Could you give us some possible examples where we might be able to initiate voluntary or even demand certain things from an environmental perspective?
So thank you, Mr. Damon. And I think you and I had been talking about situations where properties may be going under redevelopment or initial land development. And in those cases, sometimes you can ask for things through the development process, the land development process, like the photo remediation or planting of certain trees, whether that's for an environmental reason with respect to a property that maybe is contaminated at a certain level, but not at a very high level,
Right.
or if it's for bank stabilization on a stream or something of that nature. Those are all kind of semi-voluntary processes through a land development. There are also ways to help when you're looking specifically at contaminated sites. Those are really regulated by EPA and DEP for the most part. But there are things that the local municipality can do to encourage the redevelopment of that site in a meaningful way. Whether that's through zoning or through grant application processes or something of that nature. But from a local perspective, what we are most concerned with is whether or not an ordinance would be preempted by the state regulation or the federal regulation. And most of the time, in an environmental sense, when you're looking at contaminated sites, there's a pretty well versed body of laws that are outside of the local control. But yes, there are opportunities for doing things like what we had just discussed.
Okay. And it could be like voluntary programs that we might be able to initiate. But just for the public's knowledge, we are limited in what we can do. Even if we do find significant issues here, we as a township are limited, and we will be allowed to provide this information to the appropriate authorities here.
And hopefully we're not the source.
Yes. Yeah. Okay.
And this is why we're looking at our natural resource protection zoning.
Yeah.
So the natural resource protection, that's to your point, that is something that the planning commission, the township's consultants have been working on for a while now, and trying to make sure that that's brought forward. The natural resource protection standards will help to provide, I'll call it, buffers for all intents and purposes with those environmentally sensitive areas. Remember, when it comes to things like biodiversity, you have PINDY requirements for developments, things of that nature as well. But we also want to be careful in that, again, with this being a fairly agricultural community, that we're not impacting negatively folks that are farming, at a higher rate than, say, a general resident.
Yeah, understood.
Just one of the things here, just that they will be testing here are pesticides, common suite of ag and residential use pesticides.
Yes.
There's a fecal indicator. There's PFASs.
PFAs. Yes.
Yeah. Metals, and then there's other things in here. It looks like nitrogen and a whole host of other magnesium and some other things that they're looking at. Total organic carbon. So some of this could potentially be coming from agricultural use.
Elevated TMDLs usually are related to agricultural use or organics, or can be. I shouldn't say usually are, can be. But yes, some of those things, of course, could be related to normal agricultural operations.
Okay, thank you. Any other? Yeah.
Yes, Elaine.
Hi, Elaine Melita, Almond Mill Road. Stony Run was signified as a now I have to think.
High quality.
High quality stream, yes.
HQ.
And when it was tested, they came down and they were no longer, it's impaired. Now, they said what the problem is. The problem was from farm runoff and also from the developments that were built along Stony Run Road. So we're not looking for any contaminated sites or anything. And especially if you're just looking at two spots, we're trying to get a reading. Has it gotten worse? Has it gotten better? But the point is that there are things that can be done. The farmers can do things like put fences up and only allow the cows to approach the creek in one spot, not along the whole area along the creek. They can have riparian buffers along the stream. Since it's a high quality stream, the buffers on each side are supposed to be 150 feet. And those buffers will soak up anything coming off the farmland. So that's why they're supposed to be 150 feet. So it's not like there's some things that can't be done. And there are things to help the farmers and grants and stuff to have them do it. The thing is that you want to know that, I mean, that's essentially what the EAC wanted to do in the first place, is get out there and talk to the farmers. And then the other thing is, from the developments, it's the same thing. You know, it's coming from runoff, from lawn chemicals, and also from just being more runoff that's not being properly redirected or kept on the property. All runoff should be kept on people's property. Again, there are things that can be done, and it's education. And that's what we're hoping that Stroud is going to be able to do, is get the residents that live along the streams to learn what they can do on their property to help. And there are plenty of grants out there to help too. It's just that people don't know. People just don't know. I was talking to one person and they were ripping out all this brush. I'm sorry, they said to me, we're trying to keep it clean. I said, you don't want to keep it clean. This is a red twig dogwood you're ripping out. This is what should be here. Make it spread. You know, people just don't know. Or mowing down to the stream. So the idea is mainly education, to say, well, what can you do to help?
Absolutely.
So
Great point.
Yes, yeah, really great
Thank
points.
you, Lynn. Anybody else? All right, I call the question.
Well, before we do that, I just want to say too that on the discussion point here, that as far as determining the source, that could be very difficult here. And I just want to say that from an expectations perspective, that, okay.
It is what it is.
Okay, so it might be difficult just setting expectations here of being able to go to maybe the source party and being able to suggest or even implement certain remediation.
That's possible.
Okay, I just want to say that.
Okay. I call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. I move that the Board of Supervisors accept a quote from Marucci and Company to remove hazard trees along the township-owned property on Cedar Road in an amount not to exceed $28,000.
Second the motion.
Discussion.
Mr. Chairman.
Uh,
John Hospick, our arborist, reviewed this, obtained proposals, and this company has the lowest and best price, and John is confident that they'll be able to do the work.
Okay.
And these are deemed hazardous trees too.
I was going to ask, what's a hazard tree?
And it's in danger of falling or
Okay.
creating injury
Okay.
to someone.
Not just
Even to a
invasive.
motorist. No.
It's- Okay.
These are trees inside the area that we acquired
Right,
last year. is that
Cedar
correct?
Woodlands.
Yes.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Hang on, Chris. Then Mr. Ramsey, you're next.
Chris McNeil, talking to you as the Open Space Committee person. I'm pretty aware of the property. And I noticed in the details of the materials that there was a marking that was on a purple color tone for the trees that would be removed. But while the family was no longer occupying the home, many neighbors spray painted many trees along Cedar Road
Oh,
with a purple marking. So I'm just curious, will it be very distinguishable? I noticed when I did look while I was driving, I'm not going to walk on Cedar Road, there was a more square purple versus a spray purple, but I just wanted to make sure that
good point.
it's really clear. The other part is is this just going to be along Cedar Road? Or is this in the interior of the property?
I believe these are primarily on the outskirts of the property.
Okay, because the other point is that some wonderful mature tulip trees were sprayed and numbered because at one point the owner wanted to remove them for timber harvesting, and we certainly do not want them removed either. But they're in a purple color tone. That's all. I want to just make sure that we're very clear what's being
All right.
taken down.
So Bob,
I'll have John reconfirm that. But
Maybe you could put a
typically,
different color.
anything that
yes, that's right.
has a band around it, a ribbon around it, those are the trees. They are not spray painted. Just like the trees that
It says purple on the materials. It does.
So there are purple ribbons on the trees.
They're not the
The
purple
purple-
squares.
The purple spray that you're seeing, the spray paint,
Yes.
that is, in my world, that's typically people
No
with
hunting.
private, yeah, exactly, the no
But
hunting.
there's just a lot of different purple spraying on the trees.
Maybe we should
Fine.
not use purple in the future.
Yeah, I wouldn't use purple. I mean, I just know that the neighbors were trying to protect the woodlands from the hunters. So they went and did it. And then there was this other movement to timber harvest and everything was done in the purple tone.
All right,
So-
I'll have John go out and re-tag all.
I don't want trees being taken down that are healthy.
Understood.
None of us wants that criticism.
I understand, but I just wanted you to know the detail.
Yes, I'm glad you did.
Mhm.
Glad you did.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Mr. Ramsey?
This is probably a cheap shot, but I'm wondering why you're going to pay someone to remove trees along Cedar Road. Because if we just let it continue in a state of disrepair, enough cars will probably go off the road to take those trees down. This was a comment to the state of disrepair of Cedar Road in terms of its surface. It's, if that goes all the way up to 23 from Pewtown, you guys have probably been on Hollow Road on the other side in West Vincent. That's a good chance to observe what happens if you continue to not pay attention to that road surface.
So, Mr. Ramsey, that's a state road. That's a state road. Sorry, we're the wrong group.
Yes.
Any other comments from the audience? Anybody online? Okay. I call the question. All in favor of the motion? Aye.
Aye.
Good old business. I move that the Board of Supervisors authorize the purchase of a 2026 F-550 replacement fleet truck in the amount of $69,500 and a chassis in the amount of $63,734 to be used by the Township Public Works Department.
I second the motion,
Discussion.
Mr. Chairman. This is a vehicle that was determined after this past winter season that is deemed unsafe. It's also not only hazardous, the vehicle is, but also hazardous to the staff that actually have to work in and around this vehicle. Again, want to thank Senator Katie Muth for a $50,000 appropriation towards this vehicle that has impact to the entire community through this service. And the recommendation is to replace
Okay.
this now. There will be a lead time for ordering this truck, so if all goes well, maybe we'll see it for this coming winter season.
Okay.
Okay, just have I wanted some clarification here. I see the two costs on the motion, but as you go further down here, I think that there's another quote in there like 79,000. Could we get some clarification on what each of these are? Because if I go down, it does show a different amount.
One is for the chassis, the other one is for the box, and then the spreader and the associated equipment.
Okay,
Motion like talks about two numbers.
it does.
Is there a third number?
I believe those are the two numbers.
The numbers that are in the motion, according to Ms. Bear, are the correct numbers. It's the truck itself and then the upfit,
Yes.
which is the chassis.
Mhm.
So if I'm looking at this correctly, it's $69,500 according to the paperwork for the chassis.
Yeah.
I mean, excuse me, for the truck. And then the upfit is the $63,734.
For the chassis.
Correct.
Okay.
All right, and I have a question on the vehicle. How old is this vehicle that went bad? Just curious.
Build the up and F. No.
Well, so the reason why I'm asking this is if it's the frame. One of the things we talked about previously is maybe we get this properly coated underneath so it could last longer, because the wear and tear with all the salt and everything underneath these trucks, which are always getting that can wear away at the frame. And I would just like to say I am for, keeping assets a lot longer and trying to maintain as much as possible. So undercoating with lanolin or things like that might be able to keep these.
When
Maintain these
when
trucks.
you have a heavy duty vehicle that's rusted within the frame there is no coating or anything that has to take place. It's actually structural repairs that have to be done.
Yeah.
Which again, don't carry much of a warranty upon it. I think they're pretty much tailgate the minute you take it out of the shop.
Yeah.
Until you start running it, and then under different loads and that also too, you don't know what the strength and
What I mean
of the
is
repair is.
when you get the new truck, it might
Oh,
be
you
good.
meant a new truck. Okay, I'm sorry.
Right, because if the old truck, if the old trucks are wearing out because of maybe it's not properly undercoated, or if it's a frame issue. I mean, what I'd like to do is just preventive maintenance.
I got it. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. No, we will look at that.
Good point.
Absolutely. Sorry for misunderstanding.
Yeah, it's okay. Fine.
Dana, anything?
Nothing.
Craig, anything more?
No.
Any questions from the audience? Haley, anything up online? All right. I call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Last one in old business. I move that the Board of Supervisors approve a service invoice for Littles of Siglerville for the repair of the Public Works John Deere utility tractor in the amount of $10,221.20.
Second,
Discussion.
we discussed this at the last meeting. Bob, do you want to give the update?
Sure.
We deferred this one.
Oh, no.
Okay. You read the minutes. You weren't here.
This is a vehicle that, the question was it cheaper for us to, instead of spending the $10,000 on the repair, to possibly, look to replace the vehicle? The replacement cost for the vehicle is approximately $140,000. With the $10,000 repair, this will get us another 9 to 10 years at least on this. And it was looking to be the most cost-effective way to go on this. So I appreciate the question, Dana, that you brought up.
Thank you for the answers, Bob.
Sure.
Any comments from the audience? Nothing online. I call the question.
Aye.
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 Okay. We'll now proceed to public comment. Oh, wait, hold, just a minute, Steve. No, please sit down, please sit down. Let me see the hands again, please.
Sandy Idle, 5.
Sandy, I'm sorry, I pointed to the young lady behind you.
Oh, I'm sorry.
My reach wasn't that good. Sandy, you'll be next, okay?
Thank you. Mary Beth Farmer, George Washington Way. I'm starting by saying I hate public speaking, but here I am again a month later speaking on behalf of my community. My fellow Washington Square HOA board members, Camilla Allen, and I attended the May Board of Supervisors meeting and appreciated that Bob, Mike, and Joe did spend the time to meet with us till close to 11 p.m. After that meeting, we actually left feeling very optimistic that we had the starting point of a plan and some action items to move us in the right direction to help us get our roads paved. Unfortunately, that optimism quickly faded as there has been little action and communication on the township's part. The last response received from the township, with the exception of the email from Joe today, was on May 11th. We still do not know the amount of funds in line of credit for Meridian, despite being told Joe would be working with Scott Harrell at Meridian to get us this information.
I'm sorry, with whom?
Scott Harrell, the contact at Meridian, where the line of credit is held. This also has been brought up in the previous meeting we had in December, and there was still no communication regarding that information and what needed to happen to get those funds. During the public meeting on 5/5, Joe stated he felt confident that we could get our roads completed by the fall, but we need the cooperation from the township in order to do this, in order for this to occur. The HOA board has done everything we've discussed and is actively getting current bids and seeking alternate funding sources, and we are growing frustrated by the lack of urgency on the township's part, when frankly, it is the township's own previous errors and lack of oversight of the developer that has left us in this predicament. As discussed previously, we are looking at anywhere between $500,000 to $1 million to pave our roads, and this is money we simply do not have. Joe, I appreciate your response to my email today and understand we do have our attorney involved, but this has not prevented you from communicating directly with the board in the past. If we would have had some more communication on part of the township in the last month, we would not have needed to file the right to know. We are still waiting on answers for extended periods of time, but unfortunately, that was the step we had to take. In addition to the information in the right to know request, we would like to know some of this is in the right to know request. The amount of funds in the lines of credit and the paperwork needed for release of funds from Meridian. Does the township hold any error in emissions policies? And if so, would you make a claim to account for the errors made by the previous engineering firms and township employees in order for us to complete the unfinished projects in our neighborhood? We also would like an update on what the township has done since we last met on our behalf. The bottom line is that Washington Square residents pay taxes to EV Township, and the condition of our neighborhood should be an embarrassment to the township. Our roads are still not completed, and the only reason there's any action to try to get them completed is because of the action the HOA board, our current board, and previous boards have tried to take. The township should have never let our roads go so long with not being completed and should have held the developer accountable. Mark, I know you've been out previously. Craig, I don't know if you've been out, but Dana, if you have not, I invite the three of you to come walk our neighborhood again to see the unsafe and unsightly conditions. The longer it takes for the unfinished projects to be completed, the more expensive it is becoming. My last question is, at what point will you guys take responsibility to fix your own errors, which have been admitted to in both previous private and public meetings? I really have much better things to do with my time, and I do not want to have to keep coming to these meetings. And I know my neighbors who have also been here for several hours do not want to have to keep coming, but we are going to be showing up until we get any action. Thank you.
Joe.
Thank you.
What, how would you like me to respond?
Well, we have a number of things that all right, let's start first with the escrow. What's the status of the escrow account?
There's no escrow account. There are letters of credit held by Meridian Bank. We've identified those letters of credit. There are, I believe, 2 letters of credit. One is actually for PennDOT. The other is for the development itself. The PennDOT one is roughly $80,000. The other one, which is for the development itself, mostly relates to, very much relates to landscaping and things other than roads, but still is in the amount of just south of $300,000. The bank has both of those. They've acknowledged the fact that they have both letters of credit and that they're in existence. The bank's counsel has reached out to the HOA's counsel, and they have communicated, the HOA's counsel has communicated to the bank's counsel that they believe that the HOA should be considered a third-party beneficiary to those letters of credit. I've already identified for the HOA's counsel that while we understand the position that they're taking, that's not exactly the state of the law right now. I do understand it from a practical perspective, but I had the unfortunate circumstance of losing that case several years ago in Victoria Gardens. Nevertheless, we're standing at the ready. Mike Kissinger has done a lot in the last month to try and move the stormwater projects forward. That's another part of this that needs to be addressed. So the way that we look at it really is roads, stormwater, are the big two items. And the HOA has we have an issue with respect to how to address the fact that all of the common elements on one side of the street, I'll call it the south side, of the development, those common elements are all on a piece of land that actually isn't owned by the HOA. It's still owned by the developer Charnwood. So we need to work through. Unfortunately, I didn't realize that until we had met with the HOA about a month ago, and I did a little research into the county, Chesco Views, to see who actually owned that piece of property. That creates another level of complexity because if we can't find Mr. Perry, who is the only representative of the developer that we're aware of, there has to be another way for the HOA to gain title to that piece of property. And for
How
the
is that done?
township,
What is that way?
we had discussed the opportunity of potentially a quiet title action.
And for the public, what does that mean?
So there would be a legal process by which the HOA could acquire title to the property that it rightfully owns, through a filing of a court case, which they call a quiet title action. I would assume that given Mr. Perry's lack of responses in the past, that there would be no response to an action like that. And that over the course of time, assuming that he could be served, if not, somebody would have to petition the court to serve him by public notice. All of that's going to take a while to do.
We started these conversations last year and we still have not found him.
Right.
And like, how did it get this far that this man was able to disappear and not be held accountable for finishing our neighborhood for at least 5 years? Like, how did
that I don't
just let
have an
that-
answer for you. I obviously that predates me.
Right.
The responsibility for a I had no idea even a year ago that the HOA didn't own the property. It's not something that I would have looked into. I just happened to look at Chesco Views.
But not just that, but even just trying to find him to get these funds released. Like, we've been having these conversations for almost 2 years now since I've been on the board.
Right.
So
that's where we are with respect to Mr. Perry. The NPDES permit and that's on the road side. The NPDES permit is still in Charnwood's name as well. What we have tried to do is move forward by, and Mr. Kissinger had said this previously, by trying to get that NPDES permit transferred into, I can't remember if he had indicated the HOA's name or into the township's name. I don't recall. But I believe he's had some of those conversations already with the County Conservation District. And I believe he's already reached out to PennDOT with respect to some potential crosswalk improvements.
I do appreciate Mike's effort. He has
Yeah.
been.
Mike's
doing
been
a lot.
very diligent. I have not, but frankly, last month it was on me. I had some personal matters that I needed to attend to and was not able to address what these folks needed. But nevertheless, I think that we had come up with an option perhaps of having a memorandum of understanding between the township and the HOA with the division of responsibilities and resources. I still think that some kind of memorandum or written document that can be a guiding document would make sense, provided everybody's operating under the assumption that we're working together. If that starts to fracture, then I think this needs to go in a different direction.
Okay, now with respect to communications with the HOA, hang on, please. Hang on. Are there any impediments to your communicating directly with the HOA?
It's a little complicated in that if there's a public meeting, it's not a problem at all. However, with the HOA's board or the HOA in general being represented by council, I have certain ethical responsibilities where I can't directly communicate as openly as I would like to. If I can get council to agree that I can, in writing, that I can just communicate with the board directly, that would be an easier lift for me.
Is that something you could ask your attorney to do?
Yes, we can. do
And
that.
that's what I had.
Obviously, it's our preference.
Yeah, and that's what I had emailed him about a couple of
Okay.
weeks ago.
Okay.
And I just didn't hear, I never got a call back.
Okay.
But I'm happy to reach out to him again and.
Well, no.
speak.
This it's got to come from the client.
It does. It does.
So if you
Yeah,
can just,
appreciate that.
yeah, please. See, if you can get that, that opens up the lines of communication, and we can probably get past some of the misunderstandings that have developed, as well as some of the delays that we've been experiencing. The biggest problem that you're hearing is nobody knows where Perry is. Nobody. And
Well, and I think one of the things we requested is records of other escrow funds that were released to him. Like if he has not held his responsibility in the neighborhood, he shouldn't have had any funds released to him. So that's where some of our frustration is. I mean, I don't know if that has or not. That's one of the things we're looking to get through the right to know. But we are willing and we want to work cooperatively and we have been, but we're just, I mean, we're at 10 years and our roads are unsafe and not paved. Like it is ridiculous.
it's beyond ridiculous.
I'm going to sell and move out of this neighborhood before I even get paved roads. Like
No,
it's
I've seen
ridiculous.
your roads, believe me, it's,
And we
it's
get
an
excuse
embarrassment.
excuse after excuse. Like we just need to come to an agreement to whether you guys do it and we pay you back. I don't know, but we need them done. So
Yes, we do.
Mr. Chairman,
thank you for your time.
if I may,
Yes, Bob.
maybe just to add to this, I'll take full responsibility for your roads taking a while. I started in August of 2023. On the first day, I took a ride through Magnolia Reserve. Day two was a ride through Washington Square. The township was ready to, in July of 23, to sign off for final paving of that development and turn it over. I brought that to the board's attention to stop, do not release funds, that this cannot go forward. As we looked into this further, we found a host of problems over the coming, probably from that period of time, a good 8-9 months. There was a change in the solicitor, there was a change in the engineer, and we found a whole lot of problems in your neighborhood, which then began the process of trying to respin this back here as to the handicap ramps are wrong. They're pitched in the wrong direction. There are flaws in concrete throughout that development. There's a wall that's failing. The roads are, I guess the technical engineering term is a joke of how they were done. The basins are a mess. Again, I thought at one time, I thought they were corn crops that were growing there. And actually those are basins that are supposed to be utilized. The township stopped on all that and started the process of looking into this. The change of the board, we again started to look at how do we look to correct things. Unfortunately, it does take time for that. The township's never let go or walked away from this. We've been spending a lot of funds to help try to resolve this and correct this. I can't imagine, 10 years that this has gone on is crazy. What had happened in the past, I don't know. All I know is that if we don't stop, that your development's done and you've got all kinds of problems. There was a period of time, and Joe, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe there's some litigation that were going on between you and the developer or, Ryan Holmes there.
Yes, we came to a settlement.
That we kind of, there was no engagement, and then you came to a settlement on certain things there too, which again, we're not aware of what you resolved and settled. But since that time, we've tried to pick up and try to get this going to make sure that when it's done, when we're finished, it's done the right way and we all walk away from it. Again, I go back and say, I'll take the responsibility for that because it was an embarrassment. There are problems in the past, or we're not going to turn this over to you and just say, just pave it. What, just get rid of them. They complain, whatever else. No, it's not going to be done that way. Unfortunately, there's a process we have to go through. And I know that's probably as aggravating and as irritating as can all be. I think we get that. But it's something that we've not let go. And I think that we're getting close. Mike's been involved with this. We talk on a regular basis, trying to get this fixed the right way. And my hope is that sometime we get midsummer here, that we've got a direction of where we're going to go. I spoke to another contractor today about going out, taking a look at the roads and seeing what can be done to try to even squeeze that price even better to where it's at. So again, I just want to say that's, if you want to point anything, you can throw the daggers my way, because I'm the one that stopped where this came at. And the board has been supportive of this. They're just as frustrated, not as frustrated as all of you, because you live it day in and day out. But it's something that it's got to get done right. And then also too, Mike has been working with PennDOT. We've talked about getting the signal and the crosswalk put in across Bridge Street. We got a green light from PennDOT that they're going to get engaged and be involved with this. So it's again another step, but it's not a good scenario where you're at, but it's something that I hope that we're going to wrap this up soon. The next steps on this, I think from Joe's perspective, they're going to begin the process of working with the bank, getting the MOU done, getting that to the board, and then finishing up the final quotes and proposals upon the road. And then also on the basin, I believe there's a grant that's been submitted on that. Hopefully we're.
Request for a grant.
Right. So hopefully we're gonna continue to keep working on that. So I think that's kind of where we're at. What I'm gonna do is I'll ask Joe to work with Mike and try to get something out in 2 weeks to the HOA to kind of list like, here's the process, here's where we're going, here's the tentative timeline. And then get your feedback from the HOA to say, look, are we on the same page? Are we off? What do we got to do? And then we'll continue to, as soon as we get another proposal on the roads, again, too, we'll look at that. There was a request upon, you had asked us for some signage to go up about people not going on the property. Public, oh, okay, because Public Works ordered the signs and we'll get those put up. So if you can, don't order them. We'll get those and we'll install those. Okay, I thought the message got back to you, but okay. Okay, I'm sorry. We'll get it picked up. If not, email me and let me know.
Kim Martorana, 38 Jefferson Drive. We need to have a weekly communication, if that is possible, between, our lead here and you. If that's possible. I mean, the communication is key here. This is just way too long, 11 years.
I agree. Communication is important. The first order of business is to get permission so that Joe can communicate directly with the HOA. So please just ask your attorney for permission. Go to your attorney.
Again, there's no. So you're asking us.
Just.
Oh, well, this is what needs to happen, but he's saying one thing, he's saying another thing, and he's saying a third thing.
No.
The microphone.
Sir.
Oh, okay.
All right, sir, I'm saying the same thing that Joe did. As a matter of ethics, Joe cannot communicate with another attorney's client directly. He can't do that without the.
Progress report. Where are we at?
We'll do that.
On that,
We'll
that
do
point,
that.
agreed.
On the project from being punched out. Actually, there were people I communicate. Actually, okay.
Hang on. All right, everyone, we can't have people shouting from the back. We have a person standing before us right now. She's been recognized. So please proceed.
Yes, all we are asking for is communication. That's it. We need action. Nothing has been taken place.
Now.
And you can feel our frustration.
Yes, ma'am. Understandable.
We just want something done.
Agreed. Bob?
Yeah, we'll get a narrative done. Because there were some folks that I talked to with your association very early on and actually even walked the development with. So I will work with the solicitor. I'll work with the engineer. We'll also put a narrative together that goes back to 23 forward. And then we will work on a plan then to get communication weekly basis, every 2 weeks, kind of where things at on the status. And we'll work jointly with a point person there with the HOA.
I think we should ensure we have a point person, a main point of contact. It sounds like maybe Mike can be that person, but
we will make,
and everything has to funnel through, like Public Works is getting signs, Mike's doing this.
Well,
I think that is maybe
the point person here should be Bob. Right?
Either one. It should be
Okay.
one person is
One
my
person,
point.
it's gotta be Bob.
That's what I'm saying. Make
Okay.
it someone.
Agreed, sir.
All right. So J.R. Gomez, 40 Jefferson Drive. I think we just need to get a contact list, the main people, the point people on both sides. Have like a communication every other week
That makes
Because
sense
at
to me.
this
So
point,
every 2 weeks.
we don't know what's going on. We discover things tonight that we never knew, like Jim pointed out. It's absurd. And for you admitting that you canceled whatever for whatever reasons, I understand there's a lot of problems with us. If someone, Lord forbid, gets injured, we have kids on scooters on streets that look like in a war-torn city.
Yeah.
I was telling someone, it looks like Sarajevo out there. It's ridiculous. And if they get hurt, not only are you going to be liable, but the legal ramifications that it'll be on you guys. And now that we know that something was canceled that would have at least paved the roads, that just opens up your liability. That's absurd.
Well, technically, no, that's not liability to the township, because again, what would have been done would have been done, and you would have had.
Something and
I stopped. Your HOA person that you had at the time was aware of that. And what we did is we did not accept the project because of multiple problems within there. So it wasn't like canceled or left there. What I talked about is that the township was ready to basically say, go ahead, that everything in the sub base and everything was ready. That's it. We're over and done with. Live with it. And to me, there's too many problems just to have the project just paved over right now, because you look at catch basins that are sitting in the middle of front of driveways. Okay, who's going to make up the difference between jumping between that catch basin in the road and then the reveal of being 2-3 inches to the driveway? I don't know how who does that type of work? Who allows that handicap ramps are wrong and they're pitched the wrong way? The ramps that go down to the roads, they're pitched in the wrong direction. You got basins that aren't operating the way they should. So to me, is turning those over to basically to the township.
And driveways too, driveways that are disintegrating.
No, please, sir, please don't. Please don't.
Come up here after me, but our driveways are disintegrating. Some people have sinkholes in their driveways. It's just absurd. And I was just wondering, is there any way that we can finally be put up on the docket before solar panels and purple trees and everything else? Because this has been something that we've been fighting for ahead of all these other proposals.
Oh, I'm with you. The thing, but just again, the issues with your driveways or other things, that would have been between, that's basically, we would have been gone, the township would have been gone. You would have been fighting with Ryan Holmes and whoever the developer was at the end of the day.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, someone had to be doing checks and balances. I always go back to this.
And I'm going to go back and tell you,
if you care about your town, you're keeping your eye on the people that are developing your town.
That was your and I hate to do that. That was your previous engineering firm.
Yes.
Who were doing the work and the inspections. And to me, that's where they failed. And you had your manager and you had your legal people that were signing off on all this stuff. And that's where, again, I brought it to a stop. That, you know what, you're not just going to half-ass stuff anymore, excuse my language, but you're not going to do that. We have the same problem we have over at Magnolia Reserve. Again, who was doing the work? You know, who was inspecting these things? I don't know what anybody was doing.
No, please, folks, please.
Well, I'm finished. Thank you.
Thank you very
much.
Sir. But sir, to your request, Bob, can you set up a bi-weekly meetings with the HOA?
Absolutely.
Let's do that.
And I'll be your point person.
So after the meeting, can the two of you meet to agree on a set date every 2 weeks? So you can calendar it. Ma'am, can you do that? Terrific, thank you, sir.
Hardik Patel, 641 Columbus Drive, again from Washington Square. What we need is right now, what is happening since 2023, you are taking the charge. We need a series of event documented because tomorrow you are not here, someone is changed from HOA. We need a series of document so that someone who comes next knows that these were the series of events and this what is next. That needs to be listed down. Can we expect that in 1 week? that is something we need to act as urgency at this point in time, because otherwise it is gonna go in circles where we are gonna be like, oh, we did this, but there is issue with this. Can we document this? We have that in 1 week, and we can have the series of events and next steps so that we can hold each other liable. If it is Washington Square community, we can do it from our end. If it is HOA can do it, but if it is township, we need that document, because at this point, since 10 years, there has been a lot of changes in engineering, lot of changes in township boards, and it has been going in circles. We need to have this in urgency if we can get it in 1 week.
There were several walkthroughs that were done, is 2024, again, 2025. I'm pretty sure a master list was made of all the deficiencies, from retaining wall that's crumbling, to the sidewalks that you guys are very, very much aware of, to the driveways, and equally important, to the roads where there's no sub base and what have you. So that's very well documented. Very well documented.
But then where is it, and why is no action taken since then? Because we are saying it is documented, but whose action is waiting, whose action is pending, and what is the next step for getting it done?
You had litigation against Ryan Holmes and who else?
Charnwood.
And Charnwood. The litigation had to take its course. There was nothing we could do while the litigation was in progress. Nothing.
But now that's done. What's next?
Well, what's next is, as Joe's discussed and as Bob has discussed, you have the escrow amount, the two escrow amounts that are currently planning that are with the Meridian Bank. Both in I'm not escrows. I'm sorry, letters of credit.
Letters of credit.
One for the state, one for us. The bank can't release those without a representative of Charnwood signing off. That happens to be the lovely and talented
Mr. Perry.
And we can't find them.
So we're going to go through a process that hopefully can avoid that. That's what we've talked to your board about, your HOA board, I mean. The other things that have happened that I don't know if the entire community is aware of, are a lot of engineering solutions to try and make things work a little better once they're installed. Mike Kissinger, the township's engineer, came up with a way that the porous paving could be made traditional asphalt, impervious cover, as opposed to porous paving, and that the stormwater system would still work and the calculations would still work. So all of that engineering work has already been done. We had applied with Pannoni's help for a grant, Bob, forgive me, a year ago, or maybe a little bit more, a year ago, to try and identify. Well, we had identified the stormwater facilities for the purpose of that grant. However, at the time, we were concerned with actually identifying by name the community, because you were still actively involved in that the community was still actively involved in that litigation. And we didn't want to jeopardize your bargaining position with respect to Ryan or Charnwood, even though Charnwood really wasn't participating. You know, there are some things that in hindsight, I wish we could have done differently. Like if we had known at the time that Charnwood hadn't turned over the property to the HOA, meaning the title to the property to the HOA, we would have suggested at the time the litigation was ongoing to ask the court to enforce that as part of whatever settlement there would have been. Unfortunately, we weren't really made privy to what was happening from a settlement perspective. And I think that was not wrong. I think that was necessary by way of council having confidential settlement discussions on the HOA's behalf with Ryan Holmes. We did look at the driveways, the vaults. We looked at the stormwater facilities that were downstream as well, the check dams, and the series of like the rock structures that were installed. Pannoni has made determinations on their functionality and identified really the major concerns with the stormwater facilities. And again, we're reapplying for this grant to hopefully be able to take on those facilities as well. So it's a lot of paperwork, if you will. It's not a lot of action, but we're hoping that there's going to be a time where you actually see the result. right? And hopefully sooner rather than later. But I do appreciate the request for a written documentation so that there can be an understanding of who's responsible for what. Even if it's not a formal agreement, an agreement as to how the whole process is moving forward.
Yeah, that is one of my requests, just to have that in
Right.
writing, who's responsible for what, so that we can hold each other liable for their actions.
Accountable.
Accountable, sorry. And
Well, that's what Joe was talking about.
yeah, no,
Yes,
that's,
I agree.
That's
I
the
agree with you.
request. Thank you.
And that's sir, that your board has asked for that. I just didn't get it done in the last month.
Yeah, we'll appreciate it if you get it done this month. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
For the comment.
Sir,
Just one question.
name please.
Jim Semenak, 8 Madison Drive. Just one question. Who's paying for this? Is the township going to take ownership of what? I know you guys, I've come up here in the last, I don't know, 3-4 years ago, and it was a different person in there and saying, well, it was the prior administration, because this goes back 11 years. So the question is, you guys are here now, you've taken on this job. Who is going to pay is the township going to take responsibility for what's occurred with the lack of oversight, dealing with Charmwood, this guy clearly was a scam artist, scammed the township, scammed us, but the township is liable. They were part of that process. So I think the neighborhood would like to know whether the township is going to take some responsibility. And that has a lot to do with money.
As of now, we've spent around $35,000 so far of township funds to help try to get some of this stuff resolved or started to be pointed in the right direction. I don't see that stopping anytime soon here to continue to keep working on this process to get a conclusion here that everyone's happy with at the end of the day.
What is the grant match?
So what we have discussed with your board, different opportunities or how we can work together. Part of what we had discussed, it is with respect to the grant and the township being able to acquire a grant for the stormwater facilities. And the match potentially being something that the township, and of course the board would have to vote on this. This is not my call. Ultimately, I'm speaking a little out of turn. But administratively, we had talked about the fact that the grant, if there is an opportunity there for match, that is something that the township perhaps would take on. When it comes to the roads, the money that's being held through the letter of credit, if that can get released by the bank directly to the association, which would be our preference, the association could use that money to help fund the road repairs. It won't cover everything, of course. But the other thought that we had talked about was to what level you make those roads. There are different specifications for roads. There's a standard specification, which is a PennDOT 408 specification. That's the road standard for all dedicated township roads. There can be a lesser standard that lasts pretty much as long as that. Especially when you have roads that are not used as much, which are like the roads in your community. You really don't have heavy trucks or as much traffic on your roads as you would in some other situations. But that was what we had discussed, is that responsibility would fall to the HOA. The stormwater part would fall to the township, and basically in 2 buckets. With the township also getting the money from the bank, hopefully in the HOA's hands to help offset that cost. It'll be much less expensive for the HOA to be able to do that work as opposed to the township. We hope.
Bob, right? Yeah. Mention that point where you.
Sir?
Sir,
Could come to the podium, please.
Stop based on wanting to do it right.
Correct.
Right? So doing it right, how much is that going to cost? Because we're not talking just about the roads. We're not talking about just the stormwater. There's other things that you mentioned.
Right.
And so if we're going to do this right, then it has to encompass all the dollars. So how much are we talking about, and who's responsible for all of it?
I will ask Mike to get that final number put together of what that all is.
Well, and I have never seen, I don't know if I've never seen the settlement agreement that the HOA reached with Ryan. It's probably confidential and you probably can't share it. I don't know what was already agreed to. So that I don't know what Ryan, what responsibilities Ryan absolved himself from with respect to that settlement.
So for example, sidewalks. We don't know what your settlement agreement covers with regard to the sidewalks. It's not our responsibility.
We don't know who was initial. I don't know if Charnwood was initially responsible or Ryan was initially responsible. I think there was a dispute about that between the two of them, if I'm not mistaken. And again, I don't want to press anybody here to do anything that they are not permitted to do in terms of disclosure of information, but that's part of the difficulty. It's not a confidential settlement agreement. All right, if you can send that over, that'll help. At least I could see kind of where things fell out with respect to the litigation.
Do me a favor, please. Consult with your lawyer first to make sure that's the case. All right. Is there anything else?
Yeah.
No, hang on, ma'am. I was asking him if he's finished.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Hi, Camilla Quayle, 10 Madison Drive. So maybe just to get very clear about next steps. So we mentioned the MOU. What timing do you have for having that ready? Since when we met a month ago, we had timing, that never happened. So if we could have a timing, that'd be great.
I don't think we should call it an MOU. It's just kind of a guiding document, right? That would outline who's responsible, what we think in terms of who is responsible for next steps that we can give to the association. I don't know that the association agrees with what we're suggesting as the outline at this point.
But it would still be a guiding document that would provide some more clarity on
Joe, how long
what's
would it take?
happening.
I think that the gentleman had asked for it in about a week or 2 weeks. That's not a problem. We'll get it to you before the scheduled meeting with Bob. So whenever the meeting is scheduled with Bob, we'll make sure that we provide it to the board, of course, for review, and then it can go right to the HOA.
Okay, that'd be great. Thank you. So we'll put 2 weeks. If we can maybe clarify for the community, the process for getting the funds. So we've spoken high level about it. I know that you mentioned that with the HOA board, we have explored 2 options. One, pursuing getting Perry. He's gone. We're not going to find him. The other you mentioned was on having an assessment done again, perhaps, right? And then the township would be able to get the funds from the LCs. If you can clarify what specifically that is, and then what timing looks like for that.
I can't tell you what the timing is on that because a part of it's engineering work and Mike's just not here. But as far as what we were talking about before, the assessment, right, to back up, the money is allocated to different buckets. We've talked about this quite a bit,
Correct.
right? And a lot of those buckets aren't related to roads or stormwater. What we want to have happen is give the bank some cover so that we can allocate all of the money to roads, for example, if that's possible in terms of cost. So I don't know how long that would take you. I mean, I think that I don't recall if Mike was looking to you for quotes or if he was going out to go do some kind of a separate assessment. I just don't remember. But once that happens, we would take that to the bank. And even before we'll go to the bank, we've already started to talk to their general counsel about the potential release of those monies. And it's a matter of what kind of a release the bank will require from either the township, the HOA, or both. Because again, what our thought was, and we had talked about this last time we spoke, is that money can go directly to the HOA. We hope to be used by the HOA and doesn't touch necessarily the township for a couple of different reasons. But without Perry being present, it's won the assessment. We'll start even without that to notify the bank formally. We've already done it informally with respect to all of the issues that are out there in terms of Perry being gone. And the requirements under the land development agreements not being met so that we can demand that the bank release the funds. It's just, I think we'd all prefer it to go to the community as opposed to the township.
So to make sure that I understand, it all hangs on this assessment. We have not heard any details from Mike on what he needs. We've asked multiple times what exactly you're looking for. Is there a document? What can we do? And there's just been silence.
I'm
So
not
we're just
sure.
looking for like a very detailed,
Do you already have, I think you said you'd already have quotes for the roads?
we're in the bidding process currently for additional quotes outside of the one that we got from Charleston.
Okay, I think that's what he was I believe that's what he was looking
He
for.
already has the Charleston quote.
The other quotes, I thought that's what he was looking for.
But how is that related to what the bank needs is what I'm trying
It's
to
an
understand.
allocation of that way that quote will allocate, those quotes will be a mechanism by which we can go back to the bank and say all of these funds, we know what they're allocated to right now. And again, not getting into too far into the details, but we understand what they were originally allocated for. We now have all of this work that needs to be done because it was not done. We want these funds to just go to this, meaning the roads.
So if we get you the quotes and there's going to be 5 or 8 of those that are in the bidding process, that's all you need to then go and finish conversations with the bank.
No, I don't, we're talking, I think, in parallels. I don't need that to go to the bank. Mike needs that to be able to support an allocation of all the money to one particular aspect of the community, meaning the roads. We will then take that to the bank, but we've already started having conversations with the bank's counsel, with the banker, to try and get that money released. But again, we need to understand exactly what the bank needs in terms of releases. And we had talked about this too. There's probably going to be releases from both the township, which as long as the board is willing to provide to the bank, which and it sounds like the board will be willing to provide. That's one level of release. There's going to be a second level of release between probably the community and the bank and perhaps the township to make sure that, and when I talk about releases, that would be with respect to if Richard Perry ever came back from a legal perspective and said, you shouldn't have done that, right? You shouldn't have released quote unquote my money to the community. So that's the piece that we're working on right now is formalizing what that looks like with the bank.
Okay, so then we'll have to take that, I guess, separately with Bob, but maybe just to reemphasize to the board, getting those funds, first getting confirmation about the statements of the exact amounts would be helpful for us. And then also just getting those funds is very critical because we cannot act on signing a contract. We cannot act on figuring out what a special assessment would look like for the community, which, we've given them a heads up about, but we cannot get specific and that is all going to take time. So all of that time then is holding up us actually starting with the construction, which probably won't happen at this point until next year because contractors are already full. So it's just been a very frustrating waiting game just to get from the bank more details around what do they need, like you mentioned, for these releases to happen. We do not have that information, and we've been waiting since December to understand what does the bank need.
And the other part, again, not to lose sight of it, the other issue is the fact that the HOA doesn't own the property.
Correct, because it was never, what's the word?
It was never
dedicated. It was never dedicated to us.
Right. It was never right. The declarant never turned over that portion of the property to the community.
But that should not hold up the release of the funds.
We're getting into a dangerous area for me in terms of you probably should talk to your attorney about whether or not that work can be performed without the HOA owning the property.
Why would our attorney have? I guess what I'm trying to also understand is there's so much that you as a township have power over in terms of guiding us, advising us what is okay, what is not, because we also keep paying our attorney so many funds that we don't have just to do things that we shouldn't be doing in the first place.
I understand, but you're
well, maybe if I can just jump in. Some of these things can run concurrently, can't they?
Yes.
While they're going, they can run concurrently, so we're not stacking time. The other
Correct.
part is if you can get a letter from your attorney that says you're okay to discuss things with the township solicitor, that will help move some things along a lot faster.
Yeah, we can do that very quickly.
So I think that will help. So
right. That will help quite a bit. And I do, there is a line somewhere where I just can't represent the community itself because of my representation of the township. there's going to be a piece here, most likely, that hopefully it happens. If Perry came out of the woodwork and agreed to sign over the property, or we found some documentation that permitted the HOA to take ownership of that property, meaning the common elements that are on the south side, that would speed stuff up tremendously. But if there has to be a quiet title action, I can't bring that on your behalf.
Okay, my next question should be just a quick yes or no. As a third party beneficiary to the LCs, you mentioned that we are,
No, I didn't say that.
Just the opposite.
that we are not a third party beneficiary to the LC.
Your attorney has indicated that his position is that the community is a third party beneficiary to the land development agreements and the LCs. I lost that case. I wish it were the other way.
Okay.
But Victoria Gardens is the case that I lost. So in that case, they determined that it was not the case. Now, there have been subsequent cases that have distinguished from that, but it's not a clear cut that the HOA is the third party beneficiary to the letters of credit, although I do practically understand the reasoning.
Okay. Are we able to get statements showing the exact amounts that are in the LCs or no? Because this is a township and Meridian.
It's up to the bank to, we've asked for statements, and I'll ask again in writing to the bank. And when I say statements, what I'm referring to just amounts, just the amounts that are left on the letters of credit. I'll go back to their counsel and ask him for them.
Okay. One final question, especially given what we have heard in previous conversations around misses from the previous board on oversight. Has there been a filing for the errors and omissions insurance?
No.
Can you expand on why not? This sounds like something that would fit.
I'm not sure that I would see how it fits in E&O. I'm not sure that it would fit in E&O.
So from what I understand, and happy to get more clarity here, but if there have been some oversight issues in the past where engineers perhaps that you've contracted with have not done what they were supposed to do, things along those things, is that what E&O is for? And is that something that you might pursue? I would assume same with Magnolia.
I don't know if Bob has indicated his position with respect to how some prior consultants conducted themselves, perhaps. I would not go down that road of E&O would be for if the consultants acted outside of their scope or acted in some way that was entirely inappropriate and without the direction of the township. I don't know if that happened.
We can probably show documents that show all of the errors, and I wonder if we can also gather some other evidence as well. But I think that should be a possibility, a consideration that can be explored.
I think we've kind of explored this, and it's not as clear cut as you may think it is.
We did talk about it internally.
We'll have some conversations too when we meet.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. That's it.
Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Anybody else? Yes, well, Steve, go ahead. Okay. See, before we begin, is there anything else from the Washington community? No? All right, go ahead, Steve.
So I remember a couple months ago, it came up about the 724 corridor study that PennDOT was doing. And I think you said June was.
No, PennDOT's not doing the study.
Who's doing the 724 corridor study?
We are.
You are?
Yeah.
Is there any update on that?
We will be scheduling a meeting we'll get the word out in the next couple of weeks of when the date will be for that first meeting.
So the township's doing that study?
We are. It's Pennoni doing the study.
But it's,
Pennoni. Okay.
It was a grant that Pannoni acquired on behalf of the township to conduct that 724 corridor study.
Okay.
There were some, I would call some pre-study aspects that were done, mostly related to Jones Motors and exploring what could happen on the commercial side as opposed to the residential side. The board had asked the residential developer as part of I'll say the owner as part of that approval process to go through some planning with the township, which they did. The 724 corridor study is something separate and apart from that, but it relates to the same area in part. But that was a grant that Pannoni applied for, obtained, and they are doing the work for the township.
Okay.
There will be a public meeting, as Bob said. It's a town hall public meeting that's part of the public input process that has to occur under the terms of the grant. So I think that's what that was being scheduled for the June timeframe, which
So
we're here.
Oh, okay, so that's when you think it'll be, at some point in June? Or
I
you'll be
don't know.
announcing it in June when it'll be?
Yeah. I just, without Mike B, he's I think at a graduation this evening for one of his kids. I just don't want to speak for him with him not being
Okay,
here.
all right. That's all.
Sandy.
Sandy Otto, 556 Park Road. Just an update, kind of goes with him. What's being done with the Vincent Motel? Because that's looking awful.
Funny you should mention that.
I just want an update. I have to drive by it all the time.
Can't miss it.
Do I give the unfiltered version of this or not? Okay, I hear the sighs. That is an eyesore at best. We've had some conversations looking to put pressure upon this person who is an absentee landowner here to do something. There is someone that came originally to look at the property that was looking to do something on that site, which is a very small site. But they had walked away because they couldn't get a deal done with the landowner. And we have a lien against the problem of the property of $31,000 for unpaid sewer that we're refusing to waiver on at all, that owner must pay for it. But that one potential developer has come back, the realtor contacted us if the township would entertain listening to their proposal again, which we said yes. So we will wait and see what happens there, but if not, and maybe the July meeting, we'll have further conversation in regards to moving on that property, doing something.
Monica.
Monica Scriver, Valley Creek Lane. 6 months ago, I think you guys were talking about a start time of 7 o'clock instead of 7:30 for your Board of Supervisor meetings. And we're basically starting now these meetings anywhere from 15 to 20 minutes, sometimes longer, until you're actually here. And I understand your meeting, but I didn't know if you would consider addressing that like a 7 o'clock start again, just because of what time it is and how long we're sitting here before the meeting gets started. Natural resource ordinance, my understanding was that should have been up for approval by now. So what's the holdup? I mean, this is last summer, we were told by September, this thing would be up and approved.
I think drafting, I'm not sure it's finished. The drafting was being done by Michelle and Mike.
It's
Is it?
I think it was
Okay.
finished. We were waiting on some review for some of the other consultants. I don't think that review was completed as of last week. So we're waiting for those final sign-offs. So
From-
that then
from who?
From some of the other, forgive me, I don't remember who it is. I know
Why
we're
not?
waiting on. But
It's
before
going
You're holding the brain moving here, Joe.
before I can take a final look at it, We wanted to just make sure that everybody had signed off, engineers wise and consultants wise.
Make like a campfire and light
think-
matches under their
I-
butts, because we need to get that thing passed.
There are a number of ordinances we have to get moving.
Yeah,
but
not-
Please, I'm begging you. I
Yeah.
mean, let,
I'm not, I don't want to speak for Haley. She's biting her tongue and her cheek right now, but she has been trying to light that fire. She's been trying.
thank you, Haley. I appreciate it.
I've been copied on emails.
Okay, so twice now, when I was helping with, during the elections, a resident came up to me and mentioned the trails that were planned with these developments around Wingate and the reserve at French Creek. There were trails that were put into those plans that have never come to fruition. And the individuals, because I live in a very small development and was a very quiet development before French Reserve of French Creek went in, it's just constant foot traffic, constant. And this resident said it would be nice because he likes to walk along the trails, and we have such beautiful areas. He's wondering, and I would bring it up for him. I told him to come and talk to you guys, but I thought I'd bring it up again and ask, can you look into that and let me know what's happening, that those trails never came to fruition? Because I mean, that was part of the package on selling these developments and connecting them so people would have walking paths. And if we can look into that, that would be great.
These are public trails?
Yeah,
Yeah.
apparently the one in Reserve at French Creek, and he had a map, like I guess he has a hunting app, and he showed me exactly where these trails were planned to go to connect Wingate with, I mean, because it's all packed in there, all those developments are all back to back from one another.
Chris, are you aware of those trails? Sorry to get you involved.
They're shown on the hunting app, like the All Trails app, or
His map was showing me, hey, if you look, this is where these were planned.
does it also show him
Yeah.
walking over to Sheeter Road with a crossbow?
Yes.
The only trail in a development that I'm aware of was at Stony Run Farms. That was a Ryan development. And that homeowners association voted against the trail. So one of the problems that occurred in the early days is that the trails were not dedicated before the residents got in. And that caused problems. I don't know what happened with Wingate 1 and 2 or
Okay,
Reserve, but I know that I believe Stony Run Farms voted against their trails.
okay. Thank you.
So can we look at that? Pull that up and look and just see if that was the case with them or if it just fell off the. Thank you. So the traffic presentation, do you think we'll get to see that this summer?
What traffic presentation?
This traffic study committee.
Okay.
So that it's going to kind of go hand in hand, are you going to wait and do the first meeting with the 724 corridor study and then do the presentation, or?
That will be the 724 study will be the presentation. My hope is we'll be at the July meeting.
So it will be part of the traffic presentation
Um,
as part of the 724 corridor study?
it's actually two different things.
Okay, that's what I thought.
It will be two different things. So
Okay.
we'll do probably the meeting with the 724 corridor study group be done in June. And at the July board meeting, my hope is that Pinoni will be here to give an update on the.
Okay, so
Traffic.
you mean, are we going to do the 724 this month yet?
That's my hope.
Oh, okay. All right, good. Let me see. I'm sorry. I know it's late. The Jones Motors. So last month, you just mentioned that you met with Jones Motors about the commercial track. Steve just asked you, and you said that they're working with the township to discuss the commercial tract. And in the last meeting, Joe, you had told us that there was some kind of letter that was sent that was, instead of them committing to anything with the commercial, that in lieu of that, they were going to pay a fee.
No. No.
Okay.
So two different things. One is the letter that we talked about last month, which the board, didn't have to authorize. It was administratively something that could happen, but we wanted to make sure the board was aware of, related to, the the timing of posting of financial security on the residential side. So it had nothing to do with the commercial side. I think, Monica, what you may be referring to is that there was a few months ago now, I can't remember exactly when, forgive me, but there was talk about whether or not they were going to provide some kind of a plan or a fee in lieu of that plan.
Okay.
I think that may be what you're referring to. That was on the commercial side. The planning that I just referred to, or the conversations that I had referred to, are very high level discussions that occurred months ago already. Now they're not ongoing right now with respect to the commercial development and concepts for that potential commercial development. That was a 6-month planning phase, if you will. We're calling it a planning phase that occurred right after the preliminary and right after, the final land development for the residential portion.
Okay.
So I believe from Mr. Zingowski's perspective that they've fulfilled that obligation as requested as a condition of approval by the board. My point to Mr. Hacker was that area is also the 724 corridor, and there's some overlap there.
Okay. Where are the plans? I looked on, because I keep looking for them. I'm hoping we can see
What plans?
their plans, their recommendations for the commercial,
There wasn't a plan. That's what I'm saying. There was not a plan. There was a plan. There was planning, if you will. It wasn't conversations. But
so is that documented? It would be nice to know what they're thinking, so we're not blindsided.
I don't think it ever got to the point of fully vetting through whatever they're thinking. There was just an understanding, and I think we were pretty clear even at the last meetings where Jones Motors Residential was discussed, that the conditional use plan for the commercial development side doesn't appear to be a viable plan at this point in time with all the changes that have happened since COVID. Does that make sense?
Yeah, except I'm still getting hung up on the fact that they were supposed to have some sort of an idea or plan to the township 6 months after their land use was approved, because that was a big concern for our board, and it should be for the board. They were supposed to come up with some sort of idea, and I was just hoping they would have some idea of, they didn't have an idea. They were struggling with that. So, and that, I think it's 18 acres, if I remember correctly.
No, that's different.
That is
Totally different. No,
That's 35, the commercial piece.
Okay.
But
Right.
I think what I'm hearing you say, Joe, is that they opted out of that, or there were some very high level discussions and then instead chose door B, whatever.
A fee in lieu.
A fee in lieu.
Plan.
Is that where this is now sitting? I guess that's the question.
Yes. With the caveat of that they have reached back out. They have not provided us with any kind of plan, like there's no physical plan. Okay, but they have reached back out and indicated a desire to re-engage.
Okay.
Maybe with the
That's helpful.
724 corridor study, you can hold their hands through this and
I
get.
think too, and Joe, shut me down if I can't speak. But you had the representatives that were presenting here in front of the board, that they were carrying the ball with the commercial development.
Mhm.
I believe the landowner then switched gears and brought somebody else in about trying to create a commercial type development, and then that kind of faded away
Okay.
as well. So I think it's probably just as frustrating on our end, because they originally, at that meeting that was here, there was a lot of hand wringing going on there about nobody's doing commercial, nobody's doing development, but all around the area, they are doing development. So that didn't fly. But then there were some changes that occurred, but then there's some other, probably not going to be able to go down that down
It's
that
all right.
road
It's all right.
in regards to making some things work.
We had some meaningful conversations when you had your first, it wasn't a town hall meeting, but Dana, you were there. and Mark and Craig, you were there and Bob too, when we were talking about the 724 corridor study and what we'd like to see there. And because of the traffic situation and everything. So it's got a lot of potential and I'm just wondering, just updating would be great. And then the final thing I have is,
So I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you. I just
It's
want to
right.
clarify one thing. Mr. Kessler is who I think you're referring
That's
to.
correct.
It's not that he is not a commercial developer. He's on the residential side and he didn't want
Right.
to speak to the commercial development.
I think I remember
Which,
that.
which turned that conversation into, well, if it's not you, who is it? Who can we talk to about this? The owner, Don, is who we went back to. We asked his counsel to make sure that he would try to engage somebody that may be a little bit more knowledgeable on the commercial side, which is what happened. That has now changed again, to your point, Mr. Zinkowski. But you're absolutely right, Ms. Shriver. That's a very important gateway into the community.
yeah.
And
So
it's
any
definitely-
updates we could get would be great.
But we don't have much other than to say that the property owner is looking to it, as I understand it, re-engage.
So Bob, I have one more question and then I'm done. In the PA Bulletin, volume 55, January 25th, 2025, there is an application for reuse of sewage. There's a permit for land application. And the address that it gives is our township. Can you tell me what that is? I'm racking my brain trying to figure out what that is.
What is it? Can you read?
It's from the Pennsylvania Bulletin, volume 55, number 4, January 25th, 2025. I can give you the permit number is 1588442 from the DEP office of SERO is land application reuse of sewage. Something individual WQM permit. My phone died or I would have brought that up. So it's and the location it gives for this land application reuse of sewage is the township 262 Ridge Road. What the heck is that?
Well, WQM is water quality management. So, and they do have to file an annual report. So I wonder if and that would apply to the entire township. The chapter 94.
It may be the Barton Meadows spreader system.
Okay.
That would make me feel a lot better.
Because they
But I'm not, I don't, what
Doesn't
that
like-
is, that's
It could be also Veteran Center too.
or
Yeah.
Veteran Center.
Why did they
Which
call
would
it a
be,
land application?
which would have been tied to Jones Motors.
That-
It wasn't around.
No, because I hear you that I don't know that would have been the land application piece. That's what's confusing me.
Did it say
Why don't we get
chapter
back-
94?
It's the PA Bulletin, volume 55, number 4, January 25th, 2025. I'll send you the link
It says.
Okay.
and the
Keep going.
page numbers.
Keep
And
going though. It says WQM.
It says, yes, it does say it's a land application reuse of sewage it looks like IND, individual WQM permit.
Individual permit. We'll have to,
Yeah.
Monica, if you send that over.
Because
Yeah,
I was
just
like,
send it to
I don't
us.
even know how I saw it. And I don't even know why I was on that bulletin. But
Yeah. Well, we've done a lot of research into those in the
Yes,
past, so.
just
yeah.
FYI in case it's.
Yeah,
All right,
that's
thanks.
a good question.
Thank you for
Septic
your-
system for this building.
Bill.
Could be
It could be for the septic system for this building.
this building. Such fun.
Bill Fields, Stony Run Road. Hey, I just wanted to follow up a little bit on the solar activities that we're looking at as far as the study. And I can talk to Molly offline about some, but one of them, I guess there's three things. One was relative to the payback period. I know Craig, you had asked about that.
Right.
I didn't notice, and maybe it's in there, Molly. But I didn't notice anything about SRECs. SRECs are solar resource energy credits. Pennsylvania pays $31.25 an SREC per year, and then
Is that still available? Or are you saying that it is still available?
Yeah, they're still active. Yeah.
Okay.
So you can either apply for them yourself or you can go to an aggregator site, and SREC is defined as 1 megawatt hour. So if you had like a 9 kilowatt.
Is that a question for Molly?
Oh, yeah. Cool.
We're going to violate my rule.
Yeah,
Molly, why don't you answer that question, please?
Yeah, so the SRECs I had in there where it said incentives, the SRECs were lumped into the incentives line. So it was like a combination of the IRA and SREX and.
Okay,
Right.
and then there's press legislation that's
Bill,
out there now.
Bill.
Oh, sorry. Press legislation is out there currently. And maybe it's something Katie can help with. I don't know if it's state or if it's federal, but I remember it was called press, and they're looking at increasing the SREC money because Pennsylvania is super low. We used to be very high 15 years ago. And then we fell and fell and fell. And so ours, like I said, it's like $31 per SREC. You go to Washington, D.C., it's $400 per SREC, and so it's way higher. Even over in Jersey, it's 3 times what ours is. So they're looking at legislation to bump that up. It's basically saying you are a clean energy provider and a certain amount of energy for all of the producers in the area has to be clean energy. And so because you're a clean energy provider, you can sell your clean energy credits to a Pico or a MedEd or somebody else. And so if there's a way that we can help, either, like I said, I didn't look at whether press was state or whether it was federal, but it may be something that those numbers could even be higher. So it's something that's, again, I don't know if it's something at the state level that.
Address that?
But yeah.
Yeah, the legislation's a little bit out of my wheelhouse, but I have heard different things. So if there is anything where, the township could weigh in on the importance of SRECs, and not just for the township, but also for community providers, that's helpful.
Okay.
But I don't know anything.
Yeah. No, that's okay. That's okay.
So you probably add, you have a lot of experience with this. Maybe you just want to maybe tell everybody a little bit about that because you have an extensive.
So we have 44 cells that they were put in 15 years ago or 14 years ago. They're back then the state of the art was 235 watts per cell. Now it's significantly higher, but they went to a different form factor as well. I don't know if what we're looking at is 300 or 300 plus probably watts per array cell, but whichever. So ours uses microinverters. It's an important aspect of when you're putting a solar system in, whether you use microinverters or whether you use gang inverters. A microinverter is one inverter for every solar cell. So you've got this cell that's this big. And the advantage of a microinverter is if that solar cell gets in the shade of a tree or if it fails, it takes only itself down to whatever level it can produce. If you have a gang inverter, the gang inverter may do 12, 16, 20 solar cells all at once. And if one of them fails or one of them gets in the shade, all of the others that are in that gang can only produce as much as the lowest producing cell in there. So people will go, oh, and then I want microinverters because now I got the most optimized system. But they don't take into account that microinverters fail. And so my experience with them has been we lose 1 or 2. We have 44 on the house, right? And we lose 1 or 2 per year. And so the warranty becomes super important because they have to come up, they have to take the cell out of the way to get to the inverter, which is mounted underneath it. And
I'm sorry, Bill, yours is 11 years old?
Yeah, so it's 13, 14, 15. It's right in there.
We would hope to assume over those 13 years, there have been dramatic improvements in quality and reliability.
I would hope, but ours were failing in the first year or two. And again, I don't know. Maybe they're better, maybe they're not. It's something to look at. Part of that is the warranty that comes with them, right? The microinverters are warranted for 20 years, but the installation of them is warranted for 12 years. So after 12 years, all of a sudden it was, we'll send you one. You can get up there and mount it and figure it out yourself and go in and change the software to remap it. Right.
But these are
Good thing you have that crane, Bill.
What's that?
Good thing you have that crane.
It's not cost. It's not cost. You're talking about warranty.
If you didn't have the warranty, it would be a hidden cost because if you're having to constantly maintain that, he's coming up with.
Okay.
So talking about
is there a warranty?
Real experience with it.
So, Mr. Chairman, I'm not going to speak for Molly, but Mike was intimately involved in this project. Got intimately involved in this project. He has He is very well known throughout Pennsylvania for
Yes.
doing solar projects.
Right.
And I think that he probably took into consideration a lot of what you're speaking to, Bill, but I think he's just not here. I'd love for you to be able to have he geeks out about stuff like this, or it goes right over my head. So I would love for him to have the conversation with you really about it, so that we make sure that we're getting, the right thing here.
Yeah. And so, I'm still a big advocate of solar, when there's rebates and credits involved to make it financially viable. If you're paying everything up front, the return on investment is horrible. But with the credits, for ours, I think, ours was paid for back when SRECs were much higher, in 5 years. It's not quite that good anymore, but like Molly said, if it's, 11 years or something, super, I think that's a great thing. I'd say be super careful about the installation. We've had 13 years of leaks. I'm glad it's not on our house. I'm glad it's on the garage, because if you went upstairs, you'd see all the buckets sitting around. And they would come back every year and they'd try and fix it. And I think, in fairness, it's an older garage, right? It's built in the 50s. The wood's dry. It tends to crack easier. Whichever. But I think it's great that we're doing solar.
Okay.
Thanks.
Very
Thank you.
good points. Thanks, Bill.
Yes.
Thanks.
Are there any other comments or questions from the audience? Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Molly. And Bill.
Hi, Joanna, 10 New Street. I was wondering if there was an update on the illegal burning that was happening at Penhurst. I know we talked about it the last time, and I know that there was soil samples and stuff like that, and the DEP was involved. I'm just wondering if there was an update.
I can provide an update, Mr. Chairman. So we were in contact with the DEP again after last meeting. We actually just heard from him this morning. They did send Penhurst a notice of violation. And then also in regard to the soil sample, they did not want our soil sample. They're taking their own. So that's where everything stands with that with DEP.
Okay. So what does the violation mean? I really don't know. So I'm what does that mean?
Well, I can't speak to what DEP's notice of violation is, but I can find that out, what it entails.
Oh, I'll call.
Maybe
That's fine.
Maybe if I could just add on to Haley's aspect, they were issued a violation for open burning in the Southeast PA air basin.
Okay. And I just also wanted to mention that I did a right to know with the DEP about the demolition of the coal plant that happened. I forget the year. I have it written down somewhere. But they never filed a permit. And the DEP said that they were supposed to, but they did file one with the township and it was approved. But because of, it being on a brownfield, they were also supposed to file one with the DEP and they didn't. So I'm concerned about that and what was maybe kind of brought up. I am going to call the DEP tomorrow just because I have some questions because I've never been involved in any of this. So I just want to know what the violations mean and blah, blah, blah. So
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
What did they say they told you that they didn't file a permit?
I did a right to know and it didn't come up. And when I spoke
they
to
came
them,
back and said there was nothing.
The only thing that came up was a well permit that wasn't even dated, but it was signed. So, yeah.
But you didn't speak to them directly yet, you're saying?
Yeah,
So
no, I
can
just
ask,
got back
what
the
did
right to know today.
they would take as the next action? But
yeah, I don't know. I just got it back today.
Okay.
So, but I don't think that anybody knew because I don't think, I don't know when Joe came on and stuff. So I don't think a majority of the people here were here during that time.
Right.
And yeah, so I just wanted to let you know of that. And I can email you guys what I find out.
Yeah.
Forward the email, whatever. So, okay.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any other comments or questions from the audience? Mr. Ramsey shaking his head no, thank you. Anybody online? All right. Motion to adjourn.
Oh, wait.
What? Shoot. Oh, I'm sorry.
No.
Presentations from Bob and
I don't think we can do that.
What?
But he's not here. That?
Oh, no, not that. What?
Oh, but wait, I was going to ask Sandy Can you give a plug for the 250th celebration? Because our next meeting is after July 4th. You want to just give a quick, I know it was in the newsletter, but I thought we should just put it out there in the meeting. Or Bob,
Sure.
chime in,
Mary Ann.
or Haley.
Yes, the 250th is on July 4th, and it is going to be from 9, probably 10:30-ish, but we're having refreshments this year. So we were saying 9 to 11, but we have some special things that are planned. We don't want to give away the surprises. And we are anxiously awaiting how many people, hoping, I guess we're planning for what, 300? We typically have gotten over 150 people, so we're hoping there'll be a big event. We do have military dressed in colonial garb coming, and they do the volleys afterwards, and we have a nice speaker coming, so well known around. So it should be a very enjoyable time. And we
Yes.
hope that all the residents come out, and we do it, planned it for just a little over an hour, a little more, and early in the day, so you can get on with the rest of your activities. That's the big
Great.
plug, I guess, too.
Thank you very much.
You did a great job, and the staff and Bob as well,
I-
with all the planning.
All right, Joe,
Yes.
your report?
No, Mr. Chairman, I
Thank
think
you.
we've talked enough.
And Bob, you're talked out as well?
No, I got 30 minutes, so.
Good.
We'll talk.
Could you make it 45?
Okay,
Yes.
I would like to ask the board to consider a special meeting on the 16th of this month. To review and consider the solar panel proposal, as well as the 2026 road program approval.
That would be a public meeting, Bob?
That would be a public meeting, a special meeting that we could do at.
Is that the same date as the planning commission meeting?
It is, but if we start at 6:15 with that meeting or 6:30,
Yeah.
we would still allow a half hour in advance of that if we could.
Exec session.
That's afterwards, correct? So we would.
We'll be back to back.
It
Yeah.
would be,
Okay,
but
that could work. That could
we're,
work.
the timeline I know was with the solar bids to try to get that one approved, because the timeline is December 31 of this year of 26
So
to
what
get
time
that
are you talking,
going.
Bob?
We would consider 6:30. And it would be for those two items only, the approval of the solar panel and the approval of the 2026 road program.
And there may be other business, but let's talk about that offline. It'll be properly advertised.
Correct.
Okay.
I'm getting tired, so I do apologize. Kurt Scriber, Electric Lane. I believe we just voted to move planning commissions to start at 6:30.
Okay.
We have to double
Really?
check that.
Wait a minute.
If you did that, that needs to be advertised.
Yes.
It was like 2 months ago.
And voted on.
It was advertised?
I don't know about advertised, but it was brought up.
Okay.
So maybe it's.
Haley does all the
Okay,
advertising.
thank you. No, thank
Let's
you.
check it.
Yes, thank you very much for letting us
Yeah.
know, but that, Kurt, just so that you're aware, and I have not been at a couple planning commission meetings. Those have to all be re-advertised if they're gonna move the time up.
Gotcha.
Okay, thanks. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Well, I
Bob,
have a
anything else?
problem with that, but
That's it. I
That's
just want to thank Craig for volunteering to be Benjamin Franklin.
Yes,
That
I
way,
will
so
be.
thank you.
Yes.
I thought you were gonna be Benjamin Franklin.
George Washington.
All right, motion to adjourn?
The
All in
second
favor?
motion? No.
Bye.
Aye.
Aye. Good night, everybody, and thank you for your patience.